Podcast City Network.
Hey guys, this is Chris of Final Score, and we are back live on Facebook Live for episode 38 of Final Score, and this is going to be a good one. We got a lot of good stuff going on, a lot of rivalry football this weekend, and there's been a lot of exciting basketball as well. So much going on.
Yeah, it's been a great week. Of course, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. You hopefully had a lot of fun, either spending time with family and friends or trying to escape from them.
Yeah, one way or the other.
One way or the other. Hopefully, you had a good time. Enjoyed some great football on Thursday. It was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, Lions, do their classic tradition of losing on Thanksgiving, but it was a fun day nonetheless. How was your Thanksgiving, man?
It wasn't too bad. I think I ate way too much. I got a little bit of the itis and the meat sweats. It was really dangerous times there, but we made it through.
We only had I think 5 people here for dinner, and I've got enough food for like a week now. It's great.
So raiding your fridge after the show. Gotcha.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
But no, great show lined up today. There's a lot of great football that's going to be going on a little bit later, and we're going to hit it right off the top with that, with our weekly pick-em for college football. And it's been pretty wild already. Had a few games so far these past few days with Thanksgiving weekend, and some of our picks got really interesting, especially that Virginia Tech game. That was a doozy.
Yeah, going into the game, we had both kind of expected Virginia Tech. They've been on a roll lately, and we expected they would be the team to beat in this game. But Virginia, they play well at home. They were the underdog, but now they have a berth in the ACC title game with the win.
Right.
So you know what was on the line for them.
Absolutely, and this is great. With a lot of the progress they've made over the past couple of seasons, really showing that they are a team to contend with in the ACC. But you're still got to hit the bandsaw known as Clemson, so, have fun with that. Maybe they could do something monumental. Who knows? We'll definitely see. But in our next game, though, we had number 17 Iowa at 8-3, traveling to 5-6 Nebraska. Nebraska trying to get a win to become bowl eligible. However, they fell just a little bit short after being down 24-10 at one point in this game. Stormed back for a 24-24 tie late, but Iowa ended up being able to drive it down and won this one 27-24.
Yeah, Nebraska's still, they're on the right track with Scott Frost there. Obviously, It's going to take some time to turn around a college football program like that. Look at even PJ Fleck. It took him, now in his third year to really turn it around. We expect the same thing out of Scott Frost, but this was a good game nonetheless. Senior day for a lot of players, and Iowa keeps it rolling 8-3.
Most definitely do. Then we had a real nice matchup between 10-1 teams as number 19 Cincinnati traveled on down to play number 18 Memphis. And this one was really back and forth, but Memphis ended up pulling away late. Took this one 34-24.
In this game really, this is a battle for the best group of 5 team. Because both of these teams, Memphis being at number 18, they were at this point the top team that would represent the group of 5 conferences in the New Year's Six bowl game. So a lot was on the line for these two teams. Memphis at home, they play well at home, and that offense they got is tough to beat, and they're right now in the driver's seat to have that New Year's Six game.
Most definitely. We ended up splitting on this one. I took Cincinnati. You took Memphis. You were the smarter one this week, but you have a really big record to defend from last week after going 14-2.
That is true.
So I don't know. We'll see how things go. I can't believe I go 13-3 and you still beat me out. Anyways, in our next game, we had a Battle of the Apple Cup. Washington State at 6-5, traveling to Washington also at 6-5. And this game was quite interesting. We both took Washington in this one, and they ended up pulling away and taking it 31-13.
Washington's really having a down year, but they will bounce back. Chris Peterson at the helm. No surprise that they would be most likely back next year. Washington State, for all that offense that they really tout, their offense didn't really put up any points, as you could tell.
Definitely.
And that was a tough game, but for Wazoo. But both teams are really just kind of fight for some bowl positioning at this point.
Oh, most definitely. Now Washington being at 7-5 and have a little bit of swagger now that they got the Apple Cup. So I'm sure they're happy over there. But the big matchup that I'm looking at today, number 1 Ohio State traveling into the Big House to take on your Michigan Wolverines. And I noticed on our on our little pick'em here, you keep changing Ohio to just Ohio in all lowercase. No matter how many times I capitalize and put the Ohio State, you just can't accept it.
Well, that school in Columbus, they don't deserve that kind of respect from me, a Michigan fan, understandably. So, and of course, they have this really weird tradition that whatever they type out, they X out every M.
Oh my goodness!
But it's hilarious because I have a friend of mine on Facebook who's a big Ohio State fan, and he put out he's up there, I think, and he's going up to Ann Arbor today for the game, and he had typed out and got rid of all the M's except for one.
Oh my goodness!
If you're gonna do it all the way. Like don't forget one. Come on.
Yeah, you can't have
so many people that are fans of that school do this and then forget an M somewhere.
Oh my
and then
goodness.
Everybody roasts them for it that are Michigan fans, and rightfully so. But as far as the game is actually concerned, Michigan is a huge underdog at 9.5. Their offense is rolling in the last 3 or 4 games, unlike anything I have ever seen out of Michigan. So the key is not going to be their offense. Of course, you got to try to find a way to block Chase Young, which has been really hard to do. 16.5 sacks already this year. It's been crazy.
Yeah,
and he even missed those 2 games.
Yeah, he even missed the 2 games. He's been absolutely tearing it up. He's looking to be a lock as a great high-end draft pick at some point. It's going to be
He's in the
crazy.
Heisman running, too, right now.
Yeah, which is insane. When was the last defensive player we actually saw win the Heisman?
Win the Heisman? Probably Charles Woodson.
Mm-hmm.
But the last one that's been in the running, I know Ndamukong Suh was.
So was Manti Te'o.
Manti Te'o was as well.
Him and his well, anyways.
Yeah. But I'm picking the school from Columbus in this one just because they, as much as I want, and I will love to be wrong here, but just Michigan has not shown the ability to beat that school year in and year out. Harbaugh still has not had a win there. And even with Michigan going 9-2, if you win this game, your season's basically saved in the fans' eyes, because you could go ask Brady Hoke. You could go 5 wins in a season, and your 6th win is the game against Ohio to get bowl eligible. Everyone will praise you because you beat Ohio.
Absolutely, because this is the big game of the year for these 2 schools. It doesn't matter what the rest of everything looks like. As long as you get that win, that's all you need. It's going to be amazing, and it's going to be a great game. So definitely make sure you check that one out. But in our next game, we have Louisville at 7-4 traveling on over to Kentucky. And this one is a little bit of the bluegrass rivalry here, but it's going to be an interesting matchup this year. Louisville definitely on a bounce back, much better than they did last year when it was just a proverbial train wreck of a season. But now 7-4, definitely going to make a bowl game, and now trying to get a little bit of respect.
And Kentucky's on the other end of that. They had such a great season last year. They're taking a step back. They're kind of stepping back to mediocrity, really. But this game, there's not a whole lot, to my understanding, on the line here. But Kentucky at home, they play really well. Louisville's been up and down. You don't really know what you're getting out of them. So I'm taking Kentucky in this game just for some respect value there. Well,
just because of the fact that Kentucky is seemingly slipping back into mediocrity, and Louisville's really been elevating their play, even playing good team stuff. I think Louisville will have an edge here, and I think Louisville's going to be able to string some good series together, really make a good offensive showing, and really take it to Kentucky, and I think Louisville's going to take this one. But our next game, we have Indiana, 7-4, surprising 7-4 at that, traveling over to Purdue at 4-7. Purdue, though, has been a very pesky team this season, but sadly, I don't think they have enough. I think Indiana's going to take this one.
I'm taking Indiana in this game as well. Indiana's having one of their best seasons in recent memory. Purdue is understandably struggling, but they are, again, very tough at home. We've seen them had a few upsets earlier this year at home.
Oh, definitely.
But with Indiana, the way that their style, their brand of football they've been playing this year, they've been hanging with teams. They hung with Penn State. They hung for most of the game against Michigan, and on the road against a inferior Purdue team, I'm going to take Indiana in this game as well.
Most definitely. In our next game, we have Wake Forest at 8-3, having a great season, coming into Syracuse, who are now 4-7, especially after having a great season last season. Seemingly just whole season has gone away from them, not even bowl eligible, and aren't going to be able to even reach bowl eligibility. So at this point, they're just playing for respect.
And earlier in this year, they were preseason top 25, ranked, I think, 15 as high as. So the fact that they had this kind of a season is really, really got to be a bit demoralizing for that fan base. But playing against Wake Forest, they have been much of a stronger program in the last year or two than they have been in really the last 10, 15 years.
Oh, definitely. Just forget the Clemson game. That didn't happen.
Yeah, forget that game. That didn't really happen. But I'm also taking Wake Forest in this game on the road. They still want to play for a decent bowl game. They're not going to make the ACC title game, but you still got to play for a decent bowl game. So I'm taking Wake Forest to win this one.
Yeah, Wake will definitely take this one. They're definitely trying to position themselves at least for a really good bowl game. If they win this, it'll push themselves to 9-3, which is a great season, really great season, and then hopefully get a bowl win and turn it into a double digit win season. In our next game, we have number 5 Alabama at 10-1, traveling number 15 Auburn 8-3. The good old Iron Bowl, and this one is going to have some playoff implications because if Alabama can pull this one off, and depending upon what happens in the SEC title game, this might help Alabama inch up into that top 4.
And this game is always. It's always you have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, remember the kick six?
The kick six. I love playing my wife that piece. She's a big Alabama fan.
Oh, okay, that's great. Yeah, so I wish we had a clip of that right now. You could listen, never mind. But this game, like you said, it does have a lot of playoff implications. Alabama still has a chance. They still have a chance. They would have to hope that LSU or at least Georgia loses.
Right.
Or if Georgia, ends up playing, because I think Georgia's got somebody this week.
Georgia Tech.
They got Georgia Tech. That classic rivalry game. They would have to hope for a huge upset by Georgia Tech or Georgia LSU in the SEC title game. LSU wins pretty handily.
Oh, yeah. And I honestly think even if LSU were to win no matter what, if it was by an inch or a mile, I think it would be enough as long as Alabama beats Auburn, especially with Auburn being the team that they have been and been very pesky, been able to hang with a lot of games. And it was a team that seemingly could probably knock off a lot of these top 10 teams. And even Nick Saban came out and said it's the best team they will play all year. LSU, though. Number 1, but whatever.
Nick Saban does a really good job of controlling the narrative, much like a Bill Belichick.
Oh yes,
and that's why he is who he is. Controls the narrative, giving them all the praise because you don't want to throw any extra fuel to the fire here. Because if you're Auburn, not only are you at home, your 3 losses have all been against really top 15 teams.
Yes, really good teams.
All their losses are against really good teams. You're at home. It's the Iron Bowl. You can spoil Alabama's playoff hopes.
Oh,
that's all they need for motivation. But if Saban were to say anything of a slight towards them, added motivation. But it's going to be a tough game. It's tough for me to pick against Alabama here, just because of they are so talented. Even if you look at outside their quarterback position, they are playing. His last name is Scott, I believe. They are throwing him out there. Didn't really have to do a whole lot in their last game because they played, a Division II team or something. But
Wolford or whoever it was this time around?
It was Western Carolina.
Oh, Western Carolina.
Yeah,
sorry.
Western Carolina.
It started with a W. At least I got that part.
But I'm taking Alabama in a very close game. I think it's going to be another classic game in the Iron Bowl, and I'm going to take Alabama just by a hair.
Well, I could see that happening. However, I feel Auburn has been way too talented, has hung in too many close games, and this is the one, like we said with Ohio State, Michigan, Alabama, Auburn. This is the game for these two teams, and with this being in Auburn, they're going to be really fired up. There's going to be a raucous crowd down there, and I want to see really if this quarterback for Alabama is going to be able to step in and really hang with Auburn, because Auburn is probably going to be the best defensive team this quarterback has seen. Because let's not forget, we do not have Tua Tagovailoa. He is now out for the season. So everything is now going to rest on the shoulders of this kid. And it's going to be very interesting to see how he's going to respond against a stellar SEC defense at home that is going to be fired up for the Iron Bowl. It's going to be very, very interesting. I have Auburn taking the upset. It's going to be extremely close, 3 points or less. but Auburn's going to win the Iron Bowl and knock Alabama out of the playoff.
I definitely see that too. I mean, that's going to be a great game. That's going to be on at 3:30, I believe, on CBS, if I'm not mistaken. That's going to be a great game for absolutely.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be amazing. We'll definitely have a lot more on that come next week because that's going to be, I'm sure, talk of all these games this weekend. But moving on to our next game, could also be the talk of the weekend. We have number 12 Wisconsin at 9-2 traveling into Minnesota at 10-1, still number 8 and in the top 10, rowing that boat hard. You know, I was watching College Game Day and I saw this really great sign, and it was of the crossing of the Delaware River by George Washington, except it had PJ Fleck's head on it, and it said "Row the boat."
I like that.
That's a good one.
I like
right?
that. That's a good one.
That's a good one.
That's a good one. They are at home. They have College Game Day. It's the first time they've ever had College Game Day. But you're looking at a team in Wisconsin that is looking for revenge from last year's loss. Minnesota shockingly won at Wisconsin.
That's right.
And if we know anything about Wisconsin this year, when they circle a game on their calendar, they come ready to play. I mean, look at the game they had against Michigan earlier. Michigan embarrassed them last year. They circled it on their calendar, and they came out and embarrassed Michigan this year. I see a similar thing playing out here. Wisconsin does not want to allow Minnesota the opportunity to get to the Big Ten championship game. They want it for themselves. They want to win back the Paul Bunyan Axe. And I think this is going to be a tough game, a very close game, but I'm taking Wisconsin, edge Wisconsin, because of Jonathan Taylor.
Ooh, okay. You know, it's nice to be able to circle things on a calendar, you know, important dates, you know, revenge plots, all those kinds of things, but it'll mean nothing when you're rowing the boat as hard as Minnesota is, because Minnesota's going to take this one, and they're going to take it in a nail-biter because Wisconsin is a great team, and I think Jonathan Taylor is going to have a great game. However, PJ Fleck has this team ready to go, and they beat Wisconsin on the road, and now they're going to be able to take it at home. It's going to be Wisconsin taking it, going 11-1.
I would love to see it too. Of course, you know, I'm a huge PJ Fleck fan. I love Fleck.
Saw another great sign though. It said it had a picture of PJ Fleck and said, "I'm going to tell my kids this is Vince Lombardi." So, you know, maybe, hey, who knows? This could be the start.
And another huge rivalry game, 8 o'clock tonight. Number 7, Oklahoma at 10-1, travels to Stillwater, just up the road. Number 21, Oklahoma State at 8-3. The Bedlam game.
Yes, the Bedlam game. And this is going to be a good one. Both these teams having really good seasons. Obviously, Oklahoma State lost a couple of heartbreakers that they thought they were going to be able to pull off. This might even be a much more high-profile matchup. But this is still going to be a great game nonetheless. But sadly, Jalen Hurts and the Oklahoma Sooners, I think, are going to be too talented for Oklahoma State. I think Oklahoma is going to take this one, but I think Oklahoma State will cover.
I don't know. It's going to be a tough game. I'll give you that. But Oklahoma, as you mentioned, Jalen Hurts, he has been having another heck of a season as an Oklahoma quarterback. I mean, there's possibility we could be talking about a third straight Oklahoma QB win the Heisman. And from there, I mean, this game always brings out the best in both teams just because of the fact that it is a huge rivalry game. They're only like 30, 45 minutes apart. And being on the road at Oklahoma State, that crowd's going to be fired up. That team's going to be fired up. But I'm also going to take Oklahoma here reluctantly just because I do love me some Oklahoma State. But I think Oklahoma's going to win. They're going to have a chance to make the playoff. They're going to have an argument. We'll see if they can actually squeeze in.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. We'll see how a lot of that game is going to play out. But in another game, we have BYU at 7-4, traveling over to play San Diego State tonight at 9 p.m. San Diego State quietly 8-3 and showing that they're having a good season. And this game could be very interesting. BYU's played a lot of really good teams tough this season, whether it be at home, at the road. Doesn't matter, but I have San Diego State taking this one. I feel it's too talented.
This is also a really tough game to pick. I'm picking San Diego State, but reluctantly picking San Diego State.
BYU easily could take this one. Don't think that, we don't think BYU has a shot in this. BYU is a tough team.
Here's a big thing I want to look at. San Diego State has the third best rush defense in the country. They have one of the top defenses in the country. Their pass defense is middle of the road. It's top 50.
Yeah, it's decent.
One thing that BYU does not do well is run the football. One thing they do well is pass the football. So, I mean, this could be a really, really nail-biter of a game. BYU is favored in this game, but I'm also going to take San Diego State just on the back of that defense. and I think they're going to be making just enough plays. They'll force a few turnovers to take this game.
Yeah, they definitely could, and we'll definitely see how that plays out in that game. In our next game, though, we have Miami off a stunning loss to FIU for the first time in program history, traveling up to play the 4-7 Duke Blue Devils, who have been having a demoralizing season of their own. I feel like this is really going to be the battle of the ACC basement dwellers. Who do you got in this game?
This is a really interesting game. I'm taking Miami. Duke plays really well at home, but they've had some games where, remember that Virginia Tech game? Mm-hmm. They smoked Virginia Tech, and then the next week they lay an egg.
Right.
That's kind of the story of this season for Duke. I'm going to end up taking Miami here. Miami still has a lot of work to do if they ever want to get back to relevance like they were 10, 15 years ago. Mm-hmm. But this will be a decent step in the right direction if you have a 7-5 season going into a bowl game for the first year under Manny Diaz. It's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, it definitely is, and we'll definitely see how things go. Miami, I think, will definitely take this one as well. The FIU loss, I think, was just one of those kind of situations where it was just, bad timing, just some bad play calling. Things just weren't working their way, and they kind of defeated themselves in a lot of ways. But I think Miami is trying to get on the up and up. They are 6-5. They are bowl eligible, and if they can win this one, they're definitely going to guarantee themselves a bowl bid. So we'll definitely see how it plays out. I think Miami will take this one. In our next game, though, we have Boston College at 5-6 after coming off that demoralizing 40-7 loss to Notre Dame last week, traveling up to Pitt and Heinz Field to take on the Pitt Panthers. Sorry, I forgot what their mascot was for a moment. At 7-4, have been quietly having a decent season of their own. They started out kind of rough and then started just kind of putting things together. But this game is going to be very interesting. Boston College, though, I don't think has it, and I think Pitt's going to take this one big.
I'm with you. I think Pitt's going to take this one pretty easily. They're favored by 8.5, which is already a decently wide spread. Boston College, they do run the football very well, but if there's one thing Pat Narduzzi has instilled in this team, it's playing solid defense.
Yes.
You've seen what they've been able to do earlier this year, that upset of UCF at home, which was a huge win for that program at the time. And they win this game. They're sitting at 8-4, and that's a really good stepping stone for them going into next season.
Oh, most definitely. That's something they're definitely going to try and build on going into next season. So we'll definitely see how that plays out. In our next game, we have the big rivalry of the state of Florida. It'll be Florida State at 6-5, traveling into the Swamp to take on number 11 Florida at 9-2. Florida is favored by 17.5 in this game. Absolutely ridiculous. Does Florida State have a shot?
They do just because of the fact that, you're playing. They've been playing somewhat inspired under a new coaching staff, but Florida State right now is in a state of flux. They don't know who their head coach is going to be. They have no idea what direction their program's going. We've seen, what happened with Willie Taggart and kind of the ineptitude that they showed during his tenure. So Florida's on a roll. I mean, they're sitting at 9-2. They're still right outside the top 10. Kyle Trask is playing pretty well, but really, what you got to look at, I'm really looking at Kyle Trask and P. Ryan, the running back for Florida. I think they're going to be the difference makers. And you're talking about a game at the Swamp. It's also going to be senior day, so I think Florida also takes this game by a wide margin. Yeah,
Florida is just playing way too good offensively, defensively for, I think, Florida State to hang in this game. Florida State has been playing inspired football. I do agree, especially since the firing of Willie Taggart. Florida State's been kind of had a little bit of a fire lit under them. But Florida is just way too talented. And like you said, they're going to be in the Swamp for senior day. It's going to be a wild crowd there. So I think Florida's going to take this one, and they're going to take it big. Just saying. Next game, though, we have our late game, 10:30 p.m. with the Cal Golden Bears at 6-5, traveling down to UCLA to take on the Bruins at 4-7. This one was a pick'em. UCLA has shown flashes of amazing offensive power and then turn around seemingly and become the puny team that they've been over the past couple of years. So this one's going to be an interesting matchup. Cal's been kind of Jekyll and Hyde this season as well, playing down, it seems like, to the level of their opponent. So who do you have in this one?
I'm going to take UCLA at home here. They had, up until their last two games, they had lost against both ranked teams, USC and Utah, by wide margins. But they had been on a 3-game win streak, and all 4 of their wins have been in conference, which is pretty big to note. So looking at that, it's still an even game. It's like you said, basically a pick'em. I think this offense is finally kind of rolling a little bit. Getting off to where they want to be. And I'm going to take UCLA. Chip Kelly is still coaching for his job here. he's still early in his tenure, but you can't have this bad of a season, in UCLA and hope to have a job for long.
Yeah, I have to absolutely agree. This one is really going to save Chip Kelly's job if he's able to pull it off. I do have UCLA taking this one. Cal's been way too Jekyll and Hyde, especially traveling on the road into a hostile environment. I think UCLA is going to be able to thrive, especially with that offense. It really can be explosive, and California has shown a lot of issues when it comes to their defense, especially their passing defense. So I think UCLA will be able to use that to their advantage and be able to take this one, and I think they'll take it by a decent little margin. But looking at a record so far, I'm currently 2-2. You are 3-1 this week. Got to defend your 14-2 mark from last week. Overall, though, we are right now. I am 145-70 for a 67.4%.
I'm one game behind you.
Percentage with you one game behind me at 144-71. You really closed that gap. I got to give you credit.
Yeah, having a couple of strong weeks. I had a 15-1, a 14-2, and now I'm off to a 3-1 start this week. So
this guy.
It might take to the very last week.
Are you quietly putting together a nice season here?
I am. I'm like Michigan. I struggled early, but now I'm rolling, and we're gonna overtake you and win this challenge.
Well, remember, you still gotta get through the Ohio States of the world, so we'll see how a lot of that works out for you. But switching gears here, my goodness, how do we make this happen together? I don't even know. We had a little bit of football action this past week. A lot of great games on Thanksgiving, on good old Turkey Day. And we had Bears traveling to Detroit to take on the Lions. The Bills traveling down to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. We even had a little late action with the Saints-Falcons. First year, I think we've had 3 games in one day. I believe
so. Usually it's always Detroit is the noon game, and then Dallas is the 4:30 game. But this year they want to, of course, like the NFL does, they want to just continue raking in money as much as they can.
So let's add another game. Why
here
not?
you go. Let's add a third game in.
Oh, man. But those are some exciting games in our early game, the 12:30 game that we had on Thanksgiving. We had the 5-6 Bears traveling to the 3-7-1 Lions. Lions still without Matt Stafford and having a lot of issues offensively, defensively, but had a little bit of a run game going. But in this game, the Lions were up early. It was really surprising the kind of lead that they were able to build up, having their third-string quarterback come in for his very first pass and bombs it 75 yards for a touchdown to Galladay. It was absolutely amazing to watch.
Got to give David Blau credit. I mean, he was an undrafted player, signed with Cleveland. They Lions traded for him earlier this season. Of course, all the jokes from Cleveland is that, that's who the Lions are rolling out. There's a guy that was undrafted playing for the Browns. But
that's right.
I mean, the worst thing that could happen for you if you're David Blau is to just come out and sling it all over the field and throw picks. Mm-hmm. But you have nothing to lose here if you're Blau. Absolutely nothing to lose, because when Stafford comes back, he's going to take over. For how long? Don't know.
Right.
Because depending on how long Patricia still has his job, he might want to go in a different direction as a quarterback. You never know.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that could happen with that.
But Blau actually played pretty well for his first NFL start, being the third-string quarterback. Mm-hmm. Kenny Galladay had a huge game. Only 4 catches, 158 yards, and a touchdown.
On 4 catches. That's amazing. Absolutely amazing. The game was crazy all the way through. But you know who played surprisingly well and won me DraftKings was Mitchell Trubisky. And going out there and slinging it for 330 plus, had 3 touchdowns, did have a turnover, but still played manageable football, especially late, and was able to get the Bears down the field and get it into the end zone. Absolutely good football.
So I don't give any credit to him on that, because look at when he's played mediocre defenses, what does he look like?
Like garbage.
Like garbage. This is his first 300-yard game in 16 games. You want to know who the last team that he had that against?
Lions?
The Lions. The Lions defense right now is ranked dead freaking last in the NFL. For Matt Patricia, it's supposed to be a defensive guru. Where is it? It's not existent.
This is true.
So the Lions officially, again, eliminated from the playoffs, 3-8-1. We kind of knew it was going to be inevitable, especially after you start off so hot and then go on a losing streak. And losing your quarterback, losing your backup quarterback, this season is a disaster. You might as well just tank, try to get the best draft pick you can, and maybe have your job next year. I don't know. But I don't give Trubisky nearly as much credit because of the fact that the Lions defense is so bad.
This is true.
I mean, you let the Redskins win last week. You let the Redskins win last week.
They only had 1 win.
Exactly. And they've been a dumpster fire.
Yes.
When you can let them win, there's no hope for your team for the rest of the year.
No, there really isn't, and I'm surprised that the Lions defense has been as porous as it has. Now, let's not forget the fact that they have been ravaged a little bit by injuries. Injuries has not helped them in any way, shape, or form this season, but still, they should be able to string something together. I think this is also very showing that the Lions do not have a lot of depth right now, and that maybe that's something they need to address going forward, and maybe retool his defense a little more.
Well, it doesn't help when you trade away your best safety.
Yeah.
To Seattle for chump change.
Yeah.
That definitely doesn't help. And now he's, been one of the highest rated safeties in the NFL by Pro Football Focus since his trade.
Mm-hmm.
So, when you do stupid moves like that, just kind of shows you what kind of an organization you are.
Yeah, most definitely. Maybe, we always got room on the Eagles bandwagon. You come join us.
No, sir. I lived in Philly. I've seen what those fans are like. No, thank you.
Yeah, we pelted Santa with snowballs, so yeah.
Yeah, you guys hit Santa with snowballs. You people are awful.
I wouldn't say awful. Maybe just positive challenged.
Positively challenged, yes.
There you go. Yeah, that works. Anyways, in our next game, we had the 8-3 Bills traveling down the Jerry World to take on the Cowboys at 6-5, and the Cowboys have looked very porous, very bad in a lot of games, especially against the AFC East. So going into this game, the Cowboys were winless against teams with winning records, and that held true as the Bills ended up taking this one 26-15, and the score wasn't even that close.
And the Bills, give them a lot of credit. They are like under the radar. Sean McDermott has them playing some of the best football of any team in the NFL right now. 9-3, 5-1 on the road.
Yep.
You go into I kind of hostile environment, I guess. It's a big stage.
Yes.
You're on Thanksgiving.
One of the nicer
prime
stadiums.
Time. The Bills are not in prime time really much ever.
No, it's the Bills.
And but they've been playing really, really, really well. I mean, Josh Allen, he had a hell of a game. He went 19 of 24, 231 and a touchdown. You got to give the Bills a lot of credit. They came into that game knowing what they wanted to accomplish in their game plan. They did it, and they're now putting themselves really in a position to be not only in the playoffs, but they're only 2 games behind the Patriots in the AFC East.
And honestly, with how weak the Patriots offense is, if the Patriots slip up at all, the Bills are going to be right there. And let's not forget either that when the Bills and the Patriots played, that game almost was won by the Bills, and they still have to play again. So it's going to definitely get interesting when we get down the stretch. And on the Cowboys side, though, looking at 6-6 now, there's been a lot of rumors about Jason Garrett and his job situation, how hot that seat is getting now. Jerry Jones, however, has committed to him for the remainder of at least this season. So we'll definitely see where we are at come the end of the season. I suspect, honestly, if he does not win this division at the minimum, that he's going to be ousted.
And, Jerry Jones surprisingly has put up with Jason Garrett for a long time.
A long time.
You look at the amount of winning seasons that Garrett has had. Not many.
Not very many.
And he's continued to vouch for him. But the big rumor for the last year has been Sean Payton leaving New Orleans at the end of the year to go to Dallas.
Oh, stop.
I know he just signed a new extension, so he's not going anywhere. But if you're Dallas, who are you going to lure to be your head coach if Jason Garrett's gone?
There's been a lot of rumors, including one that you keep thinking USC is going to hire, Urban Meyer. That one's been rumored a lot. As well as some top end coordinators and things like that. But I don't feel there's like a clear cut replacement to replace Jason Garrett. I hate to say this. I feel like Jason Garrett's the best thing Dallas has right now.
I've got one for you, and it's out of left field.
PJ Fleck.
Nope.
Oh, okay.
I've got one for you, and it's out of left field. Kellen Moore. Their offensive coordinator.
Wow.
Look at what their offense has done. Dak Prescott had a good game.
Yeah, he had a great game. Awesome. But you know what? How porous has the offense been as a whole against teams that don't have what is statistically good defenses? And that's the problem here. Sure, you can have a player play good, but you're going to have a player play good even for the crappiest of teams. I mean, look at the Cincinnati Bengals. They got A.J. Green, who's been good for years, and that team's always been a dumpster fire, except for maybe like 2 seasons. So looking at it as a whole, Ezekiel Elliott, since he signed his contract, has not been rushing anywhere near to the level that he did last season or the season before. Dak Prescott has been playing good football, but it's to make up for the fact that Ezekiel Elliott's not playing great football. Amari Cooper's not been having a really great season. Who else they got on this team anymore? Not really much of anything.
Not Cole Beasley.
I'm about to say, I almost said Cole Beasley. But really, the defense has been bailing him out more than anything.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at, I'm just literally throwing out a name that would, I can throw out a name too. Craig Campbell. You should be the next coach of the Dallas Cowboys. I'm not too bad in Madden, so I'm in. Let's do this.
Were you good at the franchise mode?
I was absolutely good at the franchise mode.
Oh, sir, you are hired. You are perfect for being a Dallas Cowboy. But seriously,
I even simulated half my games and still win.
Oh my gosh, that's horrible. See, sir, I was always the purist. I played every game. Thank you.
Oh God, that's so time consuming.
Yeah, but I'm a stats guy. I got to get all the stats myself. Otherwise, I don't feel like I really earned it.
I simulate the first season to get through it because I like doing all the off-season moves.
Okay, I can't blame you on that though.
See, I like signing all the players. I like drafting players. I like doing all that stuff. I like making the trades. I'm not really much for during the season.
Well, we're never gonna enter you into a Madden tournament then. Like if we were to do like off-season stuff as a Madden tournament, like head coach mode, like I'm sure you'd be great.
If we ever play our actual dynasty that we were supposed to do,
yeah, we definitely failed on that. But
definitely failed on that. But if we ever do that, I'm gonna dominate all of you.
It's coming from the guy who thinks he can beat me in college football. Looking at our late game from Thanksgiving, though, we had the Saints at 9-2, traveling to the surprisingly bad Falcons, who were 3-8, but have strung together a couple decent-looking wins, including one against the Saints. This game, though, was very boring, honestly, to start out with. Was very slow-paced. The Saints really couldn't get a lot going early on. Alvin Kamara was absolutely off his game. Drew Brees played decent, but it just wasn't the kind of noteworthy, groundbreaking game that he normally would have. However, the Falcons were able to battle back into this one late, but the Saints ended up still taking this one 26-18, but the Falcons gave them hell at the end, kicking 3 onside kicks, recovered all 3. One was called back for a flag that shouldn't even been thrown, but I tell you what, they got a kicker over there.
Yeah, it's not often that we talk about the kickers like that in in NFL games, but really the thing you got to look at for this game, Matt Ryan, they put so much on his shoulders. Mm-hmm. He threw the ball 50 times, 312 yards, 2 picks, 2 touchdowns. But here's the unfortunate stat, and their undoing: 9 sacks. Falcons gave up 9 sacks in this game, and the 4th down conversion on the last drive of the game also sealed it. Mm-hmm. So really, if you want to point any fingers, you got to point fingers at that offensive line. You got to point fingers at that defense.
Oh, yeah.
That defense is not playing up to the ability that we know it is capable of. And I hate to say it, but it still seems like this defense at least has that Super Bowl hangover from when they gave up that huge lead.
Oh, yeah.
How good was their defense going into that game and playing in the first half of that game? But since then, they've had a bunch of injuries. Their defense has been porous. They've been giving up points left and right.
Mm-hmm. You know whose defense hasn't been porous, though? The Saints' defense. Because in this game, they had 9 sacks, 3 turnovers, and looked absolutely out of their mind. And, oh, yeah, one of those turnovers was an interception by the rookie Shy Tuttle, who picked off Matt Ryan at the line and then stiff-armed the quarterback on the way back just for good measure. Did you see that play? It was absolutely great.
I didn't see that play, but I was paying attention to Cameron Jordan.
Oh, Cameron Jordan.
He had 4 of those 9 sacks.
Yeah, absolutely playing out of his mind in this game, and all of them had a good turkey leg after. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, I will say this about Thanksgiving Day games. If you are going to play them, rivalry games and good storyline games matter. So like this game, big rivalry game, Saints and Falcons, great game. Bears-Lions, great rivalry game, makes sense. Bills-Cowboys, I guess you could kind of make sense because Bills were 8-3 coming in. Cole Beasley coming back to Dallas. That kind of makes sense, but
then it's a matchup that doesn't happen too often either. So
true.
Always want to throw in that interesting game into the lineup. But as of right now, though, I am 3-0, having picked the Bears, Bills, and Saints all to win their games. You were sitting 2-1 because you decided to think the Cowboys were going to be good this day, and they were not. So it's okay. We all get a stinker every now and
you
then.
know what? Yeah, that's part of the risk you got to take.
That's right.
Part of the risk you got to take. Sometimes you get burned.
That's right. But looking at some of tomorrow's games, starting with our 1:00 games, we have the 4-7 Buccaneers traveling up to Jacksonville to take on the 4-7 Jaguars. Nick Foles is back in the lineup, but has not been playing the best football. What do you got on this game?
Well, we're looking at this game. You got battle of 2 4-7 teams. Interstate game here. Jags favored by 1 point, but the real thing you want to pay attention to here is not anything related to the game on the field. Mm-hmm. It's the weather of this game. I mean, there's supposed to be some rough weather expected, 20 to 30 mile an hour winds and rain. So passing game is probably not going to be much of a factor here. And when you look at both of these teams, the Bucs, they like to throw the football. Jameis Winston probably going to have a couple turnovers. The Jags haven't been playing well since Nick Foles came back. They have been winless. Their rush offense is going to have to be the X factor. Mm-hmm. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Vita Vea and Ndamukong Suh, those two have forged one of the toughest rush defenses in the NFL. This is going to be, I think, a slow, boring, like knockdown, drag out type game. Especially if the weather plays a factor.
I have to absolutely agree. I think the weather will play a certain factor, but who knows? It could play a factor enough to show that Nick Foles can get it down the field to his receivers, and maybe they'll carry it a little bit for him. Because I think the Jags will end up taking this one, but it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out affair. This is not going to be an easy game to win, especially with all the weather that is going to be a factor possibly in this game. But looking at our next game, we have the Redskins at 2-9 coming off their win against the Lions.
Oh, yeah.
And they're traveling down to Carolina to take on the 5-6 Panthers. The Panthers are favored by 10 in this one. What do you got?
I'm taking the Panthers here at home, favored by 10. Christian McCaffrey against that defense. Mm-hmm. I think he's going to have a big game. Kyle Allen needs to still prove that he can be the guy to take over for Cam Newton.
Definitely.
And the Panthers are on a 3-game losing streak. They got to try to right the ship here. I mean, you were sitting at 5-3 just a couple weeks ago. Now you're under 500. You got to get back to 500 to try to still fight for that playoff spot.
Absolutely. I also have the Panthers taking this one. The Redskins defense has been way too porous to be able to contain the likes of Christian McCaffrey, who's one of the MVP front runners. So the Panthers, I think, are going to have a real big game. I agree also with Kyle Allen. If he wants to show that he can replace Cam Newton, you got to play good football when it comes to these weak teams. So he needs to come out. He needs to have a big day and show why he is the starter right now for the Carolina Panthers. In our next game, we have the 4-7 Jets, who have been on a little bit of a winning streak themselves, going on to the road, to Cincinnati to take on the winless Bengals, who are now going to be starting Andy Dalton again at quarterback. What do you think of this move?
I really wanted to pick the Bengals again.
Oh, my gosh.
I really wanted to pick the Bengals again just because of the fact that Andy Dalton returning as the starter, there's been a lot of praise from other players and stuff to see Dalton come back and start. I would not be surprised if this is a nail-biter of a game. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals win this game, but I'm taking the Jets.
Yeah, this game, I just don't feel confident in the Bengals offense whatsoever. I feel like really all they have is a couple decent receivers, and that's it. So this offense is not going to be able to get anything going against this gas defense. However, the Jets, I think, are going to be able to go out on Sam Darnold's side. I think Sam Darnold's going to have a game, and I think he's going to have a really great game and really show why he is the starter for the New York Jets. And I think the Jets are going to take this, and they're going to take it by a wide margin.
I think he does. I hopefully does have a good game. I got him in fantasy this week. I picked him over Dak Prescott.
So did I. Anyways, so yes, definitely.
But remember, the Bengals played. They were literally plays away from beating the Steelers last week.
This is true.
So I would not count out the Bengals this late in the season. Home games, you can't count out teams like this that are winless. I think it's going to be a really, really tough game.
I think it'll be a tough game. I still think it's going to go Jets, Jets. So let's see how it goes. Next game, we have the Tennessee Titans at 6-5 traveling over to Lucas Oil Field, play on against the Indianapolis Colts, who are also 6-5. Colts favored by 2.5. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Titans in this game. Just because of the fact that, yes, it is on the road. It's a division game. Colts play well. Jacoby Brissett has been playing better, but he's still hobbled with that knee. And you're looking at a Titans defense that stuffs people. They stuff people. And surprise, surprise, Ryan Tannehill is actually playing very well. He's looking like an actually good quarterback.
I mean, he actually does, and that's what's surprising. He's currently 111 of 154 for 1,420 yards, 10 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. You cannot scoff at that. Those actually are not bad numbers given the situation he's gone through this year and being now inserted as a starter for the Tennessee Titans and upending Marcus Mariota. However, on the Indianapolis side, Jacoby Brissett has almost 2,000 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, and 4 picks. Has been playing great football, has been a little hobbled, but has been able to show a great leadership playing through and still trying to make plays happen. Oh, and let's not forget T.Y. Hilton. That guy is back.
I've heard that he's out.
I know. I heard he was in.
I've heard this morning on CBS that he was out.
Let's look at the full injury report right here.
I know they were talking. This was on Friday. They said he's out. They may have changed their mind. I'm not sure, but I don't think even if he is, whether he's in or out, that offense can still get some things going. But I mean, Jacoby Brissett hasn't really had strong statistical games of over 300 yards.
Yeah, it was just ruled recently that he will be out because of his calf still, so definitely going to see what happens with that. But you still have Paris Campbell, who's going to be questionable, might be playing in the game. You still also have a couple other defenders that are going to be back, so it'll be definitely interesting. But I still think the Indianapolis Colts, with Nyheim Hines and with Marlon Mack, who was playing good and kind of is out of everything now.
Marlon Mack's out today too.
Yeah, he's out, but Nyheim Hines, and let's not forget Jonathan Williams, who both have been playing really great football for the Colts.
That's the one thing we were talking about last week on the show, is that the Colts, they've gotten back to the run game, and they've gotten back to not putting all the pressure on the QB's shoulders. And look at what it's done for them, is they've looked really well. I mean, outside of a couple games, which brings you to their 6-5 record, but they have actually looked a lot better as an offense instead of just trying to rely on a quarterback to do what Peyton Manning can do.
Right.
Not many players can do what Peyton Manning does.
No, definitely not. And then they've been trying to weather the whole entire offset of the season that put them in the position they are, and that was Andrew Luck retiring. So given what they've had to already endure this season with the injuries, with the retirements and everything going on, Colts at 6-5, they have a chance still. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. I do have the Colts taking this one in an extremely close game. It's just going to home field advantage. I think they're going to be able to use that to their advantage to be able to inch out the Titans in this one. But in our next game, we have, I think, what is going to be really the matchup of the weekend, and that's going to be the 10-1 49ers traveling all the way to Baltimore to take on the 9-2 Ravens. Ravens are favored by 6. Who do you have in this one?
This was probably one of the toughest picks for me to look at. Even though the Ravens are favored by 6, you got to look at the San Francisco 49ers. I don't care what the Patriots statistically look like. This is the best defense in the NFL.
Absolutely.
Absolutely the best defense in the NFL. And I think that's going to be essentially a wash. Their defense versus Lamar Jackson, they're gonna create some turnovers. Jackson's gonna make some plays, but the other side of the ball is what I want to look at, and I want to look at Garoppolo versus the Ravens defense. The Ravens still have a decent defense.
They do.
And Garoppolo, he's been playing better, but he still has those games every once in a while to where he takes a step back. And I think that is what is going to be the difference maker in this game. I'm going to take the Ravens at home. West Coast traveling east rarely ever works out well. Look at what the Raiders did last week.
Oh, yeah.
Got destroyed by the Jets traveling from west to east. So I'm going to take the Ravens, the home field advantage. Lamar Jackson is going to make just enough plays to make this happen for the Ravens.
Honestly, I think the Ravens also will take this, but I think it's going to be in a stunningly dominating fashion. I have a feeling the 49ers might even get embarrassed. Now, I absolutely agree that they have what I feel is the best defense, but when you have the human cheat code known as Lamar Jackson on your team and saw what he did to the Rams last week, what he's done to other teams this entire season, you just can't stop a guy on a run like this. He is beyond a hot hand. He is the megastar right now. And I think he's going to continue rolling that against every single team he plays. The guy is just money. And I think he's going to, not only are the Ravens going to win this, they're going to more than cover. I'm going to say it's going to be at least a 10-point win, maybe a 34-24 kind of outing. And I think the Ravens are going to keep on rolling. They're going to roll to 10-2.
Bold prediction.
Very bold prediction. But in our next matchup, and one I hold near and dear to my heart, the 5-6 Eagles are going to travel on down to Miami to take on the 2-9 Dolphins. The Eagles are favored by 10, but the Eagles also are expected to get back Alshon Jeffrey. They're also expected to get back Brandon Brooks. Lane Johnson also just signed a big deal. So there's a lot of excitement right now in Philly going on. But the Dolphins have been showing a little bit of resistance and friction for a lot of teams. Who do you got in this one?
I'm taking the Eagles. This game I don't think is going to be really close. Even with all the injuries that the Eagles have sustained, playing well under their expectations this year. It's the Dolphins on the road. You win, you're tied with Dallas for the lead in the division. There's no way they can let this slip through their fingers right now.
No, they definitely can. We'll definitely see how it's going to work out. I think you're going to have Zach Ertz also returning. He's been dealing with a little injury, and even though with Carson Wentz having the bruised throwing hand, all these factors I think are not going to matter just because even with all the injuries, the Eagles are still a very dominant team when it comes to playing these weaker opponents. So I think the Eagles are going to be able to use that to their advantage. And let's not forget, their defense is almost back at 100% now. So that defense is going to be very dominant. We saw what they've been able already to do to a lot of teams, including Seattle, who's a great offensive team that they really did hamper and slow down. So I think the Eagles are going to take this one. They're going to take it big. But looking at our next matchup, we got the 8-3 Green Bay Packers traveling over to New MetLife Stadium to take on the New York Giants. They're both bad teams. Who's now 2-9. Packers are favored by 6.5. Who do you got?
I'm taking the Packers. It's a 6.5 spread. It is on the road, but the Packers offense, they're coming off of that loss against the 49ers. They're going to look to right the ship, have that revenge. You're tied with the Minnesota Vikings at the top of the NFC North. You've got to assert your dominance here. There's a possibility that they win this game. Vikings lose their game on the road at Seattle. You could have now again another game lead in that division, and I'm gonna take the back and the arm of Aaron Rodgers to carry this team pretty easily.
Most definitely. I have to agree. The Packers are going to take this one. They're going to take it handedly. The Giants do not have a defense that's going to be able to hang with this offense in any way, shape, or form. And the Giants offense, while has shown spurts of positiveness, especially with Daniel Jones being in there, it's just not going to be enough against this great Packers team. I think the Packers take this and move to 9-3. In our last 1:00 game, we have the 5-6 Browns traveling over to Pittsburgh, take on the 6-5 Steelers, and this is going to be the Myles Garrett, Mason Rudolph, doink doink helmet hit rematch. It's going to be interesting.
Well, you got to look at the Browns have been a little bit of a roll as of late, since especially winning that game. But Marquise Pouncey's out. You still don't know what you're getting if Juju Smith-Schuster is going to be in or out. They're still back and forth on that. Delvin Hodges is playing a lot better than Mason Rudolph was playing, but there's still so many injuries on this defense. It is at home for the Steelers, but I'm going to take the Browns on the road. Their defense is still talented enough, even without Myles Garrett. And if they can get that offense rolling a little bit early, they can take this one pretty easily.
Yeah, I have to agree. Juju Smith-Schuster, though, has been officially ruled out for this game. James Conner is also ruled as doubtful. So we'll definitely see how a lot of that's going to play out. But I think Cleveland, with everything they have going on, all they're really missing outside of Myles Garrett is Eric Murray. So I think they're going to be fine. I think they're going to be able to do some damage against this depleted Steelers team that is going to be without Pouncey. So they're going to already have issues there. And as far as I know, I think Mason Rudolph will be starting this, I believe they said.
Delvin Hodges is.
Are they going with Hodges?
Yeah, he's the QB going forward.
Because it seems like they keep flip-flopping with this decision, and that's the thing I've seen a lot with this.
Press conference earlier this week, Mike Tomlin had said that Delvin Hodges is going to be their quarterback because he doesn't, quote, kill us. He basically threw Mason Rudolph under the bus and said that Mason Rudolph is the reason they've been losing, and he's going with Delvin Hodges.
It doesn't, kill us. Oh, sorry. Sorry there. Anyways.
No, he did not beat the argument over the head. Just threw him under the bus.
All right, making sure. We don't need any more of that in the NFL. But I think the Browns are going to take this as well. It's just they're on too much of a roll. Pittsburgh has too much going on in their organization. So I think the Browns will end up taking this one easily and be able to cover. In our next game, our 405 game, we have the 6-5 Rams coming off that horrific defeat to the Baltimore Ravens, going on the road to take the 3-7-1 Cardinals. It's going to be an interesting game. Who do you got?
I'm going to take the Rams, and this is a tough game to pick also because you look at the Cardinals and Kyler Murray and that offense has been actually rolling pretty well. They've been playing well the last few weeks. They just haven't been getting any wins. The Rams on the road coming off that loss, a humiliating loss to the Ravens. They're going to look to right their ship again. They're still in the playoff hunt. They need this win, especially in the West, to keep pace with the Niners and the Seahawks. So I'm going to take the Rams in a very close game over the Cardinals.
You know, Kyler Murray's been playing good football this year. He's 254, 393 for 2,700 yards, 14 touchdowns, 5 picks. He's putting together a very quietly good season. Oh, let's not forget, he's also the rushing lead. He has 418 yards and 3 touchdowns there on 67 carries. So playing good football. And also the addition of Kenyon Drake has been really amazing for them. And I'm really going to take this. You heard it here first. Cardinals are going to upset the Rams this week. The Rams, I think, are still going to be on somewhat of a hangover after beating as bad as they were on Thursday Night Football to the Baltimore Ravens. So I really see the Cardinals being able to capitalize on that at home and be able to take the Rams. And they're going to take it in a nice little score. And I think Kyler Murray is going to show why he was the guy drafted for this air raid offense. But in our next game, the 425 game, we have the 6-5 Raiders coming off that humiliating loss to the New York Jets, traveling to Kansas City to take on the 7-4 Chiefs. Chiefs are favored by 10. Who do you have in this one?
I'm taking the Chiefs coming off the bye week.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you got Andy Reid off that bye week, plenty of time to prepare. They're at home. Derek Carr does not play well when the weather is below 40 degrees, and the weather expected to be in Arrowhead around 30 to 32 degrees, so right around freezing. I'm taking the Chiefs at home field advantage. I think they're going to win pretty big.
I have to absolutely agree. I think that the Chiefs are going to honestly take the Raiders to the woodshed. The Raiders are not a team that's been able to really hang as late. They're still going through a lot of transition to be able to build the type of roster that John Gruden wants. But I think Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are going to be able to go out, take them to the woodshed, and position themselves to try and make a push towards the top of their, or actually keep pushing as the top of their division, and be able to show that, hey, none of these teams are going to be able to contend with us. We're taking this for another year. But in our late Sunday night game, we have the 10-1 Patriots traveling over to Houston to take on the 7-4 Texans. And this game is going to be very interesting for a lot of different reasons. Who do you got?
Well, first you skipped a game.
I did skip
Talked
a
about
game.
the Broncos and Chargers.
Oh, I did. Our other 425 game of, just
we'll make it short
teams.
and sweet. We'll make it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Broncos have no idea what they're doing on offense. Drew Lock makes his first start. I'm taking the Chargers. They still have a lot of respect to fight for. Phillip Rivers probably wants to go out on a high note after this kind of a season. Don't know if he's going to be playing any longer. I'm taking the Chargers. You're taking the Chargers.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll
Broncos
be too difficult.
So, anyways, back to our Sunday night game. We have the 10-1 Patriots traveling to the Texans. This game's going to be interesting for a lot of different reasons, namely being that the Patriots offense has been absolutely anemic, just not there whatsoever. They've not been able to get a lot of production they were hoping to get from the running or passing game, really. Tom Brady not having the best of seasons. I know he's been having a lot of difficulty against good defenses, especially the Eagles. He really struggled against the Eagles, through 14 incompletions in the first half, which was the most ever by him. So not having the best of seasons for Tom Brady, but still manageable. But I'm interested to see how you're going to play against this Texans defense, which, without J.J. Watt, already traded Jadeveon Clowney, so you're not really getting any kind of a pass rush. Do you think the Patriots have a good shot in this?
I absolutely do. I think it's going to come down to a close game. You're talking about Bill Belichick and the way he can draw up defense against opposing offenses, take away what they are good at. And I think that's what the Patriots do best. You look at their defense, and yeah, they're statistically one of the best defenses in the NFL, but on the road at Houston, it's going to be, I think, a very close game. I could absolutely see the Patriots winning this by like a 3 or 4 point game, but I'm going to take the Texans coming off of their big win at home against the Colts last week, big division game. They need that win to get up to 8-4 to take another little bit of a wide, margin. They need that 1.5, 2 game margin in order to, make guarantee that they make the playoffs. Deshaun Watson's been playing really, really well. He's been playing at almost an MVP level, really, for the Texans. So I'm going to take the Texans in a very close game, but I would not be surprised if the Patriots come out and just shut down that offense.
Absolutely. And another thing, too, is that the Patriots are dealing with 17 players who are suffering from illness right now. Don't know if they're actually going to be ready to go for this game. So it's definitely going to be interesting once we get to this actual matchup. I think the Texans can take this and will take this. I feel Deshaun Watson is going to be able to show why he is the guy in Houston and why he has been such a great quarterback. And I think the Patriots, this might be some of the most dynamic wide receiver core that they've actually faced, between DeAndre Hopkins, Will Fuller's now back full strength. There's been so many good things happening with this offense. So I think the Patriots are going to have a tough time really containing these guys, and someone's going to go off. The one thing they'll be able to contain is probably the running game. That's probably about the only thing. Duke Johnson has not been playing the best football this year after being traded over from Cleveland, so it's going to be interesting. But I think the Texans are going to be able to take this one. They're going to take this one close. But in our Monday night game, we have the 8-3 Vikings traveling out west to Seattle to take on the 9-2 Seahawks in the 12th man. Seahawks are favored by 3, and this could have a lot of NFC playoff implications. Who do you got?
I'm taking the Seahawks at home. They're favored by 3. This is a big game against the tie for the top of the NFC North in the Minnesota Vikings. Kirk Cousins has been playing well enough and getting the ball out. Adam Thielen, still nowhere to be found, still hampering it. I think it's a hamstring injury.
Yes.
First of all, he's been really killing my fantasy team. But second of all, the fact that he's not on the field is one less weapon that the Seahawks have to worry about. If he plays, I think the Vikings can make this a really close game, could take it, but I'm taking the Seahawks at home. That defense, Jadeveon Clowney, has really taken that game, taken that defense to the next level, along with Quadre Diggs when they got him from Detroit. I'm taking the Seahawks, close game at home on Monday night.
I think the Seahawks will take this one as well in a very close game. I think Vikings are playing a lot better football ever since that their wide receivers basically called out Kirk Cousins. And Kirk Cousins has been able to put together a nice little season for himself. They've been able to battle back in games when they're down big. They've been able to polish off games when needed. Been able to show why they are now 8-3 and still a formidable team in the NFC. However, I feel the Seahawks are just way too strong offensively to really be contained. Russell Wilson playing on an MVP level right now, as well as that defense, like you said earlier, with Jadeveon Clowney and Diggs just playing amazing football right now. And I think Minnesota's going to have a tough time traveling west, and Seahawks take this one, and I think they're going to take it and cover. So definitely going to be interesting. We'll see how a lot of these games play out tomorrow and on Monday for the NFL. Make sure you check back next week when we go over a lot of our picks. As of right now, you went 10-4 last week in your picks. I sadly slumped to 7-7. So on the season, I am 101-74-1.
Widening my gap.
And you're widening your gap and have a 10-game lead on me at 111-64-1. And let's quiet 63.4% pick margin. Look at you go.
Strong in both college and pro. Look at that.
Oh, look at you.
He's a dual threat.
He's a dual threat. Now, let's not put you on the field. But,
right, yeah.
But that
not very good athletically.
That is our NFL weekly pick'em. Now we're going to switch gears and take a look at some NFL news that's been going on around the league, including some Hall of Fame candidates that were announced. A lot of good ones. 3 first-year players were put on the ballot, along with 25 total semifinalists of modern-era players for the Pro Football Hall of Fame class of 2020. The 3 first-year eligible players: safety Troy Polamalu, wide receiver Reggie White, and linebacker Patrick Willis. All, I think, are amazing players, and I think they have a good shot of being able to make it into the Hall.
Yeah, you're looking at a couple of other, you said Reggie White or Reggie Wayne?
Reggie Wayne.
You met Reggie Wayne, right?
Reggie Wayne. That's what I said.
No, you said Reggie White.
Well, he's amazing too.
Yeah, I mean, he's really good too. Out of this list, looking at all the the modern era players, the 3 first-year eligible players, I think all 3 have arguments to make it in. Polamalu and Wayne, of course. Patrick Willis, you could make an argument for him as well. But looking at some of the other players on this list, I think this is going to be. It was done by. It was planned to be. This is one of the bigger classes they're going to have because it's the 100th year.
Yes,
I think this is going to absolutely be the largest class they will ever have in the NFL Hall of Fame. And I think there's going to be a lot of popular names on this list this year.
Oh, yeah. Looking at this list, we got guys like Steve Atwater, safety who played for the Jets and Broncos as a 9-time semifinalist. Carl Banks, linebacker for the Giants, Redskins, and Browns. This is his 2nd nomination. Rondé Barber. Can't forget Rondé Barber and all his years with the Tampa Bay Bucks and a Super Bowl win. Tony Boselli, tackle for the Jags and Texans. Isaac Bruce, the wide receiver, played for both the Rams and the 49ers. This is going to be his 7th appearance. Leroy Butler, safety, played for the Packers. Alan Fenica, great guard, who played for the Steelers, Jets, and Cardinals. I think he has a really strong chance to make it in. Torrey Holt, the St. Louis Rams great, ended up getting himself a nice ring and also played for the Jaguars. He's on this list. Steve Hutchinson, guard for the Seattle Seahawks, Minnesota Vikings, and Tennessee Titans. Edgerrin James, running back for the Colts, Cardinals, and Seahawks. Here's an interesting name on this list. The current 49ers GM and former free safety for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Denver Broncos, John Lynch, is on this list. I think he has an extremely strong shot at being able to make it on. Clay Matthews, not to be really confused with the
Clay
other
Matthews Jr.
Clay Matthews Jr., who played for the Browns and the Falcons in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. A great player. His son obviously followed right in his footsteps. Has a great shot to make it. Sam Mills, linebacker for the Saints and Panthers in the mid-90s and late 80s. Troy Polamalu, like I mentioned earlier, I think he has the strongest shot at making it. He really was quite the character. Has such a strong personality and was a really likable guy around the locker room. Did a lot of great community outreach and things while he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Out of USC. Great player. Probably the only USC player I will ever endorse in any way, shape, or form. So, but there's a lot of great names on here. Simeon Rice, defensive end. Richard Seymour, defensive tackle. Steve Tasker, who was a wide receiver.
Special teamer.
And special teamer. A lot of great special team plays for him. Fred Taylor, running back for the Jags and Patriots. Zach Thomas, the infamous Dolphins linebacker. Hines Ward, Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver great, who's now going to be appearing for his 5th time on this ballot. I think he's going to have a really, really strong case to be able to make it into the Hall. Ricky Waters, running back for the 49ers, Eagles, and Seahawks. Reggie Wayne, like we mentioned earlier, and Patrick Willis. Darren Woodson, the safety for the Dallas Cowboys for many years, and Bryant Young, defensive tackle for the 49ers in the late 80s and early 2000s, or late 90s, and early 2000s. A lot of great players on this list who can honestly all make it into the Hall, but obviously we're not going to see all 25 make it. Who do you think, guys, it's the best shot?
The best shot at making it, I think out of this group here, I would like to see Baselli make it.
Mm-hmm.
I think Atwater's got a good shot. Faneca should be in.
Definitely. I think Hines Ward should make it in too, honestly.
Hines Ward could make it in. Polamalu should make it. Zach Thomas, Fred Taylor, and probably Darren Woodson. I would say out of that group, I think that should be the group that makes it in. And of course, let us know your thoughts as well. Let us know who you think should be in. Of course, if you have players on your favorite team that have made this list, let us know why they should be in the Hall of Fame. And you can find that. You can let us know on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, at PCN Final Score, and let us know who you think should make the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely, and they're going to be announcing this class live this upcoming year. It's definitely going to be very, very interesting to see how this goes down. I think a lot of the players, but one I think really, really could make it is John Lynch. He was such a great player, and now as a GM making a lot of noise, so definitely one to keep an eye out on.
The only thing I don't know about that is this is his 8th time being on it.
Mm-hmm.
If you haven't made it already by 8 years, I don't know if you're going to make it, because realistically, statistically, not that great.
No, but he was
a name. He was a big name on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and for about 1 or 2 years on the Broncos. But I mean, when you, like I said, just like in baseball, if you've been on that list for more than 4 years, I don't know if you're going to make it.
But this is NFL 100, and that's the thing I'm looking at, is that we are going to see a record number of people brought in, and this might be his best shot to be able to make it in. So we'll see.
Very true.
We'll see how it plays out, but definitely going to be very interesting. We are going to take a break, though, after one more little news snippet. Very interesting little thing that we found out recently about an Arizona Cardinals cornerback. What do you have on this?
So cornerback Josh Shaw was suspended by the NFL on Friday for betting on multiple NFL games. There's not really any news about what time frame, what season, how many games. All we know is that it's multiple. He's suspended for the rest of the 2020 season, and he can reapply for 2021. Realistically, in this idea, if you are the NFL, and as much as they like to protect the shield, this guy probably should never play in the NFL ever again. Realistically, you have to make an example, because with as popular as gambling is now,
yes, very much so.
It's much more mainstream. It's not like a little taboo thing anymore, like it was with Pete Rose in baseball, Tim Donaghy in NBA. Now it is a very mainstream practice. You've got to make an example so that way other players are not even thinking about doing stuff like this.
And honestly, it would make sense to do it with a player that's not as well known as others. So if you give him the Pete Rose treatment, it might really set a precedent. So it's definitely going to be interesting how that plays out.
And I'm not too familiar with what games specifically he bet on. I don't know if he bet on games that he was playing in, other games around the league. That's something they really have to dive into and look at first before making that decision. But if it comes down that he bet on games that he was playing in, absolutely ban him for life.
Yeah, I have to agree, because you can't be that guy who could possibly be throwing games because you have money riding on it. That's just not right. It's not very sportsmanlike. So we'll definitely see what happens with the situation. We'll keep you up to date on the outcome of the situation going forward. But we do have to pay the light bills, so make sure you stay with us. When we come back, we're going to do some college basketball coverage. A lot of great upsets that have been happening, along with the update on NBA and NHL. So definitely make sure you stay with us. We'll be right back.
The following support and sponsor Podcast City Network. City Limits Tap Room, sports bar in DeLand, Florida, has brew on tap, serve food, the grilled cheese is excellent. For upcoming events, check out City Limits Tap Room on Facebook.com/City Limits Tap Room. Atlantic Sounds has thousands of new and used vinyl records and CDs. If they don't have it, they can order it for you. Same location since 1982. For more updates on what's new, check out Atlantic Sounds on Facebook.com/Atlantic Sounds Vinyl. Sports Sanity Customs have worked with organizations from custom embroidering polo shirts to jerseys for your kids' baseball team. They do it all. Armed with state-of-the-art equipment and an in-house design team, they are equipped to take on your next project. Visit their website to learn more, sportsanitycustoms.com. Visit Sports Sanity Customs on Facebook.com/SportsSanityCustoms. 3Count Design offers a wide range of graphic design products, video, photography and other forms of media. Everything from t-shirt designs to websites. Visit Facebook.com/3CountDesign for more. Demo Blast Studios, an explosion of imagination. Original artwork, podcasts, video, apparel and more. Visit DemoBlastStudios.com. Visit Demoblast Studios on Facebook.com/Demoblast Studios, the best family entertainment pro wrestling show in the state of Kentucky. Kentucky's Own Wrestling brings quality family vintage wrestling to a town near you. Kentucky's Own Wrestling offers a ladies division in wrestling and a training school. Kentucky's Own Wrestling is the current longest running Southern promotion. Visit Facebook.com/Somerset Kentucky's Own Wrestling. All supporters and sponsors are brought to you by Podcast City Network.
And we are back here on Final Score with Chris and Craig. And we're going to hit off the top of the second half of our show with some college basketball news. A lot of craziness that's been happening.
Yeah, number one Duke on Tuesday night falls to Stephen F. Austin at home, snaps a 150 home non-conference game winning streak.
Wow.
Stephen F. Austin had lost one game coming in, but they win on a breakaway layup at the overtime buzzer.
Yeah, and it was great. They had to go back and review the video over and over, and I saw this. It was absolutely amazing, and hats off to Stephen F. Austin. Such a smaller college, been able to stun the biggest dog in the yard in Duke, and Duke was 27.5-point favorites in this game and fall in their first non-conference home loss since 2000.
Yeah, and it's been the year of the upsets, really, because, I mean, you had, you had Kentucky number one losing at home, Duke number one losing at home, plenty of upsets this year, and I think that's really going to be the story of college basketball this year, is there's not one real dominant team that you can point to and say, this team is probably going to win the national championship. This year, it's very wide open. There's a lot of different teams that could be vouching for it.
And this was the largest upset also in Division I men's basketball over the past 15 seasons, narrowly beating out Gardner-Webb's 26-point underdog win over Kentucky in 2007.
I remember watching that game.
Yeah, that game was nuts.
Loved it.
Yeah, every moment. So, and Stephen F. Austin had to overcome a 15-point deficit to take the lead in the second half, forced overtime on a layup with 19 seconds remaining at that point, and then Duke's Cassius Stanley missed a contested mid-range jumper at the buzzer. So it was a crazy game from start to finish, and Stephen F. Austin was able just to pull that one out. Had to drive 75 feet for that winner. It was crazy. And a lot of people expected that when they got that ball right there at the end, they would call a timeout and try and draw up a play, but they just let it play out and were able to win it.
Yeah, it's a huge win for not only that program, but for college basketball, because of the fact that, like I said, you look at all the big upsets we've had this year already. It's a big thing because that's something that the NCAA can really hang their hat on.
Oh, yeah.
Moving into conference play, and then, of course, ultimately with the NCAA tournament.
Mm-hmm. And this was their first loss, like we said, since 2000. That last loss came February 26, 2000 to St. John's. So just to give you an idea how long ago that's been, we were already just breaking in the new millennium at that point. So it's definitely very, very interesting. And I'm interested to see how many more teams might go down, and wonder who our next number one is really going to be. That's going to be interesting as well.
The next number one's probably going to be Louisville because they're number 2 right now. But they have a big game coming up or later this week against Michigan on Tuesday. So that's going to be quite a big game for them once they do end up getting that number 1 spot. I believe they do the new rankings on Tuesdays.
Yes.
So they probably will be the next number 1 team. Be a lot of fun to watch for sure. Louisville's been having a great season already.
Oh, yeah, most definitely.
They've really turned it around from all the scandal that they had in the last couple of years.
Oh, most definitely. But speaking of Michigan basketball, some things going on with the Wolverines. What can you tell us about that?
Michigan's off to a hot start, 7-0 to start the year, which, of course, they brought in Juwan Howard, the ex-Fab Five member that now is the head coach of the men's basketball team. There's a lot of speculation about what kind of coach would he be? We don't really know. He's never had any kind of head coaching experience whatsoever. But I think the thing to look at is the fact that Michigan was unranked, always underlooked, or they're always overlooked, I should say. But this team has a lot of upperclassmen that are leading this basketball team now. And they are unranked, but coming into the battle for Atlantis, they were 4-0. They took down Iowa State, 83-76. Then on Thursday, they took down number 6 North Carolina, 73-64 by 9.
Then turn around.
Then turn around the very next day and take down number 8 Gonzaga, who is supposed to be, again, one of the top teams in the country, and they almost ran them out of the gym.
Yeah, beat them by 18 to take the game.
They were up by more than. I was watching parts of this game, and it was. They were up by more than 20 in a lot of times. So the fact that they were able to do this, yes, it was on a neutral site, but still. And the fact that Michigan is not ranked is a huge slap in the face. The past seasons they have, you look at teams like Michigan State, Duke, North Carolina, they were getting ranked based on what they did last year. Michigan also made another deep run in the tournament last year. No respect whatsoever. They're unranked.
Oh, I'm going to guarantee come Tuesday, though, this team's going to be ranked going into that matchup with Louisville.
I think the team should be in the top 20 already. Like
I agree.
If they're between 20 and 25, again, huge slap in the face.
Yeah. I think it's like a number 15 team at least.
I feel like they should jump in and be one of the top 15 to 20 teams in the country. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And they're going to have a huge test, like I mentioned, Tuesday at number 2 Louisville. That's going to be a big test. If they can come out and win that game, I think they should be a top 5 team.
Ooh, look at you.
I'm not kidding. I mean, given
who they've beaten, yeah.
They're the only team in the country that have had 2 top 10 wins this year already.
And are undefeated and are not ranked.
Undefeated, not ranked, 2 top 10 wins.
How does that make sense?
How does that make any sense?
You know what's even crazier is that it wasn't even like, oh, they have these nice wins. No, like they had dominating wins. Like we said, they beat Gonzaga by 18. You beat North Carolina by 9. That's no small feat with those 2 teams that are traditionally powerhouse teams in college basketball. So it's absolutely blows my mind that the Michigan Wolverines are not ranked in any way, shape, or form. Being undefeated. And
Juwan Howard gets the first All-American to sign at Michigan since 2012. Or sorry, 2002. 2002. But the first All-American to sign at Michigan since in that long, I mean, he's already off to a great start.
Yes.
In his tenure at Michigan.
Yeah, and there's definitely got plenty of tests going forward. Like you said, they got to play Louisville on Tuesday, the number 2 team, which will by that point probably be the number 1 team in the country. You still got ranked matchups at this point against Oregon and Michigan State.
Yep, Oregon's
left
in a
on the
couple
docket.
weeks.
And you got to play Michigan State twice. Ohio State's going to be later in the season, so there's going to be a lot of chances really for Michigan to prove themselves and for Juwan Hart really to show this team could be that team.
And the Big Ten is arguably going to be the best conference in college basketball this year. You got Maryland's number 5.
Then they're
Michigan
undefeated.
State, Michigan State is a top 10 team. Ohio State's number 10,
undefeated.
They're undefeated.
Indiana's even 6-0 and undefeated.
Indiana's is a really good team. Purdue is 4-2. They're a very good team. There's going to be a lot of really good teams in the Big Ten.
Oh, yeah.
I would not be surprised to see 7 or 8 teams from that conference make the big dance this year.
And only one team in the Big Ten has a losing record, and that's 3-4 Minnesota.
And Minnesota, up until a couple of years ago, they were top 15 team as well.
Exactly.
So they they're off to a rough start this year, but I think it's going to be one of the best conferences in college basketball.
Absolutely. I absolutely have to agree. But we're going to change a little bit of gears here and take a look at some NHL. Been a lot of stuff going on in hockey, even including Calgary Flames head coach resigning today. It's been really crazy, apparently over a racial slur that was made 10 years ago, and decided to resign after dealing with a lot of the backlash and allegations. So it's been really interesting in hockey. But on the actual ice and play side of things, it's been really interesting to see a lot of these teams and how they've been shaping up through the season so far. A lot of teams we thought were going to be really good have really fallen off. Some we thought were going to be more of a basement dweller have really surprised us. So it's been really interesting overall to see, but what do we have so far?
I mean, even some of the games that have happened in the last day or two, you look at Tampa Bay took Washington to overtime, lost 4-3, but taking a team like that to overtime, it's a big deal. That's a big step in the right direction for them. The Rangers and the Bruins had an overtime game last night, Boston winning 3-2. You look at just some of those games, some of those big matchups, but with that win, Boston actually continues to hold the top spot in the Eastern Conference, and they're just only widening their lead at this point in that Atlantic Division. They have a 41-29 spread here. I mean, you're looking at
that's 12 points right there.
Yeah, that big margin there. They got 18 wins, 3 losses, only 5 losses in overtime. They're 10-0-4 at home. 6-game win streak. I mean, they're rolling right now.
Yeah, they definitely are. But I'm starting to notice something. A little bit of a trend in the Atlantic Division is that there's some weak offensive play where they're allowing a lot of goals. Not even counting the Detroit Red Wings and everything they're going through, but
the Red Wings.
I mean, we can't pronounce wings correctly for you now. You're that bad.
Red Wings.
Red Wings. Anyways, but a lot of these teams have negative score differentials. Even the Florida Panthers, who are number 2 in this division, still has a -2 score differential. So scoring in this, which is surprising to see Tampa, who's 5th in this division, still has a +10 score differential. The only other team outside of Boston who has a positive score differential in the division. So it's going to be very interesting to see how a lot of this shape forward. A lot of these teams are on losing streaks, including our number 2 team, the Florida Panthers, who are 12-8-5 with 29 points, are 6-5-3, so pretty dismal on the road, but 6-3-2 at home, kind of getting it done. 5-5 in their last 10, currently on a 3-game losing streak.
And the next, looking at the next team, you got the Buffalo Sabres sitting at 21, tied with the Toronto Maple Leafs at 28 points apiece, both sitting at 12 wins on the year. The Sabres 3-5-2 in their last 10. The Maple Leafs 3-6-1 in their last 10. Neither one of them are playing particularly well at this moment.
Yeah, and right behind them with 27 points apiece, the Tampa Bay Lightning and Montreal Canadiens, with Lightning being 12-8-3, the Canadiens being 11-9-5. Both teams have been playing kind of backsliding at this point, I should say, with Tampa Bay on a 2-game losing streak, Montreal on a 6-game losing streak. Montreal 3-4-3 in their last 10, but Tampa is 6-3-1 and trying to start getting an upward trend.
And in Tampa, you look at some of the wins that they've had. They've had a couple of 3-game win streaks since the beginning of November, and in those games, they're winning by wide margins: 5-3 against Buffalo, 9-3 against the Rangers, 6-2 against the Ducks, 5-2 against Buffalo. But you're looking at in their losses, they're only losing by 1 goal, 2 goals, 1 goal, 1 goal. So I think they're starting
there.
They're starting to turn it around, and you know that really rough start they got off to. They're starting to put a couple of wins together here and there, and you know it's the games when their offense can get rolling, they're going to win by a wide margin.
Absolutely.
If they don't get off to a hot start, the other team usually keeps it close. And if it's a close game, the Lightning have shown so far that they are not able to close out those close games.
Mm-hmm. And that's going to be their Achilles heel, I feel like, this season, is that they are able to hang in games, they're able to score, but when they need the scores the most and be able to take games late, they just can't capitalize. And that's their biggest problem. But we'll definitely see how a lot of it shakes out. They are only 23 games into their season, so still plenty of hockey left. We're only about at the quarter-way point right now, so a lot could happen in that time frame. But looking at the bottom two teams in that Atlantic Division, the Ottawa Senators with 23 points, currently 11-14-1. And the dismal Detroit Red Wings. That's right. Red Wings at 7-18-3 with 17 points. Not looking all that great. And they're currently on an 8-game losing streak. -50 score differential.
Red Wings. Red Wings.
I love it.
Oh my God, that's great.
Anyways,
but yeah, the Red Wings having that 8-game losing streak. Some of the teams they've been losing to, they lost a game in overtime, game in shootout. Some of these other games, I mean, you're looking at lost 5-1 earlier last week, I guess, to the Devils. They lost 2-0 to the Carolina, 6-0 to Toronto, 6-1 to Philly.
They're getting owned.
They're not able to put together, not only score goals, but they can't stop anybody. I mean, when you're going back and forth between Bernier and Howard, you've got to make a decision. They finally put in a new goalie in this last game on Friday in Picard, but you've got to try to find something at goalie. Now, they need a lot of help. I know that. They need a lot of help on defense. They need a lot of help.
They've allowed 110 goals. Worst in the league by a wide margin.
Part of that is defense, part of that's goalie.
Yes.
So, I mean, the goalie can play spectacularly, but if you're letting teams get 30, 40 shots every single game,
oh yeah, you're not going to have a good success rate.
Your goalie's not going to be able to stop 100% of shots. So you got to be able to put more pressure on other teams. You got to be able to stop people and prevent them from staying in your zone the whole time. And the Red Wings are just not doing that right now.
No, they most definitely aren't. But looking at our Metropolitan Division, the Washington Capitals are leading this 41 points, tied with the Bruins for best in the league, and are currently 18-4-5, playing absolutely amazing on the road, 10-2-1 road mark, and are 6-2-2 in their last 10 2-game winning streak.
And the Islanders are right behind them at 34 points, 16 wins, 5 losses, 2 overtime losses. They are playing well at home, 10-2-1, but they're on a 3-game losing streak right now, but they're still 6-2-2 in their last 10.
And my Philadelphia Flyers slowly coming up the standings, number 3 in the Metropolitan, currently 14-7-5 with 33 points. Have been playing absolutely amazing at home, 8-1-4, but 5-2-3 in their last 10, but 3-game win streak. Don't look now, Flyers are flying.
The really surprising teams being down in the middle of this pack, being the Penguins and the Hurricanes, both sitting at 32 points and 31 points respectively. Carolina was starting off early in the year really hot. They were near the top of the division. They've kind of taken a bit of a dip. They're still 6-4 in their last 10, but they're on a 2-game losing streak. If they want to try to recreate what they did last year, they're going to have to string some more wins together like they have been over the last 10.
Absolutely. Looking a little bit towards the bottom of our division, though, the New York Rangers are currently 12-9-3, 27 points, with the Blue Jackets right behind them, 11-10-4 and 26 points. Both teams have been playing really horrible on the road and don't have good score differentials, but are having a winning record in their last 10 games, with the Rangers being 5-3-2, the Blue Jackets 6-3-1. Blue Jackets 1-game winning streak. New York Rangers, though, 1-game losing streak. Something to watch out for.
And Devils sitting there at the bottom of that division, 22 points, 9 wins, 11 losses, and 4 overtime losses, 5-5 in their last 10. This team, Really surprising a bit because of what they've done in the offseason and players they brought in, trying to turn the corner as a franchise. Not looking so good right now for Devils fans.
Yeah, it definitely is, and they're hoping to have a lot better out of this team given the kind of moves they made, especially bringing in their nice, shiny rookie who's been playing decent, but it just hasn't been enough to get the New Jersey Devils over that hump. Currently with a negative 21 score differential, definitely not what they were looking for in this team, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season shakes out for them. But switching gears to the Western Conference, looking at the Central Division with our defending defending Stanley Cup champion, St. Louis Blues. Let me English today. Currently 16-5-6 with 38 points, playing absolutely great at home, on the road, doesn't matter. They find ways to win. Currently on a 2-game winning streak, 5-2-3 in their last 10.
Sitting right behind them at 33 points, the Winnipeg Jets, who really the question mark for them has been defensively.
Yes.
And they can score goals, what they can do, but they're sitting at second right now in the Central Division, 16 wins, 9 losses, 1 overtime loss. Surprising, very good on the road, 10-4 on the road, 3-game win streak, and they're 8-2 in their last 10 games.
Yeah, playing great hockey right now. Right behind them, you have the Colorado Avalanche and the Dallas Stars, both with 32 points apiece. Avalanche are 15-8-2, the Stars 15-10-2. It's definitely been a really interesting season for both of them, both playing good hockey at home, both with positive score differentials. Colorado Avalanche, though, plus 18. Definitely something to look at. Avalanche 7-3-0 in their last 10. The Stars 7-2-1 in their last 10. Both teams playing great hockey.
Nashville Predators coming in behind them with 28 points. They're at 12 wins, 9 losses, and 4 overtime losses. They have 3-5-2 in their last 10 games. Not playing particularly well as of late, but they are playing well at home, 7-5-3.
Yeah, definitely trying to make noise happen. You got the Minnesota Wild right behind them, 11-11-4, 26 points, 6-1-2 at home. So playing great hockey there, but 5-10-2 on the road. So not able to get it done where they need to, and that's been giving them a negative 8 score differential. But they are 6-1-3 in their last 10 with a 2-game winning streak. Bringing up the rear, the caboose of the division. Chicago Blackhawks 10-10-5, 25 points. They are playing well in the last 10 games, 5-3-2, but are they going to be able to sustain that over the course of the season? Most experts predict not, but they're playing well enough right now to give their franchise a little bit of hope for the future. Most definitely. Switching gears over to the Pacific Division, we have the Edmonton Oilers at 16-8-3 and 35 points leading this division. They are 6-3-1 in their last 10 and are on a 1-game losing streak. But looking at some of their wins and losses, they seem to just kind of alternate. 2 wins, 2 losses, 1 win, 1 loss. They kind of alternate back and forth and are losing to teams that sometimes are a little bit questionable, like a 5-1 loss recently to the LA Kings, but do have good wins as well, like 4-1 to the Avalanche. So it's interesting to see how this team has been faring, especially with Connor McDavid, who's been playing absolutely out of his mind, but still has them in position right now to win this division, and currently are leading with those 35 points, but they are on a 1-game losing streak.
And right behind them, you got the Coyotes, 15-8-4. They're at 34 points, 1 point right behind those Oilers, those red hot Oilers. 6-2-2 in their last 10. They did lose their last game, but they have a plus 13 goal differential, which has really helped them out. Playing both on the road and at home. Pretty good splits both ways there. And they're playing surprisingly well with how stacked this division was supposed to be this year. They've been playing surprisingly well the first quarter of the season.
Absolutely, but don't look now. Right behind them is the Vegas Golden Knights and the San Jose Sharks, who started out very dismally and have been able to rise up through the standings to get to this point, having 30 and 29 points apiece. The Golden Knights are 13-11-4, and the Sharks 14-12-1. Both teams have been trying to play out of their mind, but have not been playing well on the road, and that's something that they're really going to have to try and overcome if either of these teams want to try and get any kind of a run going. Golden Knights, though, are 4-5-1 in their last 10. Not a great mark, but are on a 2-game winning streak. But the Sharks have quietly been putting it together, 8-2 in their last 10 with a 1-game win streak.
When they started at the bottom of this division, the beginning of the season, we're asking what in the world is going on. They just needed some time to get things meshed together.
Get a job.
Of course, you had Evander Kane, which was out for a while, and they've really kind of put it together. We talked about this last week of how good of a stretch of hockey they've been playing. Again this week, we're talking about 8-2 in their last 10, and they're very slowly, as you mentioned, climbing up the division rankings in the Pacific.
Most definitely. But right behind them, the Vancouver Canucks, who are 12-10-4 and 28 points, and the Calgary Flames, who are 12-12-4 with 28 points. Calgary, though, going through a little bit right now with their head coach resigning, so not sure exactly what's going to happen with their season. They did win their first game without him, but are 3-5-2 in their last 10, a negative 15 score differential. But the Canucks on their end are playing great at home, 5-2-3, not great on the road, though, and have a 3-6-1 mark in their last 10 on a 2-game losing streak.
And the bottom of the Pacific Division, the Anaheim Ducks and the LA Kings. Anaheim Ducks are sitting at 26 points, the Kings at 22 points. And the real story here for both of these teams, they're playing well at home, not on the road.
Mm-hmm.
The Ducks 7-5-2 at home, Kings 8-5-1, and then on the road 4-7-2 for the Ducks, 2-9-1 for the Kings on the road. Both are on losing streaks right now, both playing not great in the last 10 games.
Yeah, definitely haven't been able to string it together and get things going, and these both were teams that were looking to be able to contend out in the West, so very surprising to see where these teams are right now, not playing great hockey and currently under 500. So definitely is going to be interesting to see how the rest of NHL is going to shape out. Hasn't been too much else going on outside of the Calgary Flames head coach resigning, which was kind of surprising amid allegations of racial slurs that were made 10 years ago. So we'll definitely see how a lot of that shapes out and bring you a lot more going forward on some of our future episodes. But this time we're going to switch a little bit of gears now. To NBA, a lot of stuff has been happening in the NBA, a lot of interesting little streaks that have been happening, a lot of great games. It's been absolutely amazing, but the big one I think a lot of people have been looking at is the kind of run that the LA Lakers are on right now.
Yeah, the LA Lakers got off to a really hot start this year. I don't think anyone really expect them to play as well as they have, especially with how they fared last year. But when you have all that big turnover changes and you get more guys that are a little bit better catered to LeBron's skill set, and you bring in a guy like Anthony Davis, that right there is gonna speak volumes and how well you're able to play in the NBA. And of course, over a big 82-game season, but having all those different options to be able to go to really kind of help and show a little bit more of the depth that the LA Lakers have been looking for, and as well as the veteran presence that they needed to ultimately try to get them to another NBA championship.
Absolutely. And the Lakers right now are 17-2, a 10-game winning streak, which ties a franchise best right now. It'd be the first time that if they can win number 11, they had notched 11 straight back in November to mid-December of the 2009-2010 season. But this has been the best they have been since then and are looking to make a little bit of history right now. And who knows, 17-2, they could really roll this and maybe even challenge Golden State a little bit for what they were able to pull off a few years back when they had that amazing season of their own. So we'll definitely see how this Lakers team moves forward, because they now, with LeBron on the floor, AD on the floor, they've been having Dwight Howard even playing good. They're getting everything together. Now Kuzma, I know, has had a little bit of an injury issue now recently, something they're definitely going to have to contend with. But this team is a very complete team and can make a lot of noise out in the West.
Absolutely. Right behind them at number 2, though, this is how strong the West is. The Denver Nuggets are sitting at 13-3. They're only 2.5 games back of the LA Lakers, and they're on a 6-game win streak themselves, 9-1 in their last 10, 8-2 at home, 5-1 on the road. They're off to a hot start, continuing what they did last year, surprising everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Been making it happen. The Denver Nuggets have been a really great team, been a real great offensive showing as well. They're averaging 107 points a game while only allowing 102 roughly. So it's been a really great season for them. Right behind them, though, the LA Clippers, who are 14-6 and 3.5 games out of the lead in the West, have been playing amazing at home and are 11-1, but 3-5 on the road. So that might be something to kind of look at as the season progresses, to see how they're going to be able to go up against a better competition, especially when it comes time to play them on the road, and are currently 7-3 in their last 10.
And that team, they're just looking for the playoffs right here.
Oh, yeah,
we talked
absolutely.
about all the load management last week of Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, and you don't know if they're both going to play together very much this year, but they are about having the season everyone kind of expected them so far at this point. But right behind them, very surprising, the Dallas Mavericks, 12-6. They're 4.5 games out of first place. They have been playing really well. They're 4-0 against their own division, 6-4 at home, 6-2 on the road, 7-3 against the West, which I think speaks huge volumes. That's very huge. But they're plus 7.7 in the score differential here. 7-3 in their last 10. Luka Doncic is probably a dark horse for MVP. He probably won't get a lot of the notoriety like a James Harden, Anthony Davis, LeBron James, whoever you want to throw in there. But I think that if he continues to play at the level he's playing at and the Mavericks make the playoffs or even get a top 4 seed, I think hands down Luka Doncic should win it.
Yeah, I think Luka Doncic has been playing absolutely out of his mind. He's been averaging a double-double all year so far and just playing really great basketball. He even tied a season high of 42 points recently. So this guy is honestly, if he can keep this pace, I think has a very great shot at the MVP, especially if the Dallas Mavs keep winning, currently in the top 4 in the West. So don't look now. The Mavs might be back. They really might be back.
Absolutely. And tied with them at the 5th spot, the Houston Rockets 12-6. They're 4.5 games back. They're winning games by a little bit less of a comfortable margin.
Yeah.
But when you've got guys like James Harden and Russell Westbrook on your team, any given night, either one of those guys could go off, or both of them. So, I mean, kind of expected that they're going to probably cruise through the Western Conference throughout the majority of the season.
Most definitely. Right behind them are the Utah Jazz, currently 12-7 and 5 games back of the Western lead. They're 8-1 at home, but 4-6 on the road. Also something they're going to have to contend with. 9-5 against their conference, but currently are on 6-4 in their last 10 and on a 1-game win streak.
And Minnesota Timberwolves right behind them at the 7 spot, 6.5 games out of first. They are on a 2-game win streak. They're only 5-5 in their last 10. They're not playing particularly well at home, but they're playing very well on the road. 3-6 at home, 7-2 on the road.
Yeah, which is surprising. Usually you don't see teams play that great on the road and they play great at home, but they've been able to make it work on the road. Now, if Minnesota could just get things going at home and start taking that crowd and using it to their advantage, they might be able to start pulling out some more of these games. But right behind them in the last spot, qualifying for playoffs, would be the Phoenix Suns, 8-10. Had a miraculously hot start to start the season, have been really cooling off, currently on a 3-game losing streak, and 3-7 in their last 10. Definitely being cooled off. They've been decent on the road at 3-3, but not great at 5-7 at home, and 5-7 also against the conference.
And that's kind of what we expected when we had that huge start for them. It was only within the first month, so now you're getting into the actual meat of the season. You're going to start seeing, I think, this team trail off a little bit. They still have a lot of good young players, and Monty Williams having them playing really well. But I think the rigors of the NBA season are going to eventually take a toll on this team. Looking at the best of the rest, you got the Kings, the Blazers, and the Oklahoma City Thunder all sitting within about a game to a game and a half of the Phoenix Suns right there. Really what you got to look at is the Portland Trailblazers signing Carmelo Anthony.
Yes.
Finally starting to get a little bit of offense here. They're on a 3-game win streak, but they're still only 4-6 in their last 10.
Yeah, the Portland Trailblazers, I think, made a great move bringing in Melo, been able to really revitalize this offense, and he's been playing good basketball for him too, so makes you wonder why a lot of teams didn't want to take a chance on him, but Portland's been able to use it to their advantage. But behind those 3 teams, you have the San Antonio Spurs, the New Orleans Pelicans, and the Memphis Grizzlies, all within roughly about 2 to 3 games outside of that last spot behind Phoenix. San Antonio has not been playing the best basketball, but not as bad as the other 2 teams behind them, because at least San Antonio's on a 1-game winning streak, but are 2-8 in their last 10. But the Pelicans and Grizzlies are on 4 and 6 game losing streaks respectively, not playing their best basketball. So definitely it's going to be interesting to see how this is going to shape out going forward.
Just goes to show you, hype does nothing until you actually prove that you can live up to it. And that's what we're seeing with the Pelicans right now. Yes, I know Zion is out. He's not, he's still kind of hampering that injury, but you can't tell me that he's going to make that much of a difference with this team right now if he's on that roster. Looking at the bottom 2 teams there, you mentioned the Memphis Grizzlies. Ja Morant is playing as well as any rookie in the NBA right now. Definitely in consideration for Rookie of the Year.
Absolutely.
But they're on that 6-game losing streak, 3-7. Well, that's what we expected out of Memphis. One thing we didn't expect, Golden State Warriors, 4-16, the worst team in the NBA. They are absolutely, right now, in my opinion, the worst team in the NBA setup. I'm talking about worse than the Knicks. I'm talking about
the Knicks have 4 wins.
I'm talking about worse than the Hawks, who also
have 4 wins.
Yeah, but look at how their roster's set up.
Yeah, you're not lying. The Golden State is absolutely
Golden
horrific
State has
right now.
no star players. You've got Draymond Green. Is he playing? Is he not playing?
If you ever want to play pro basketball, now might be the time to do it. You need to go try out. You might do better than what they have.
I didn't even make a college team, so I don't know about that.
I mean, come on now. We've had so many guys just be able to make it in sports.
I'd be the best short player since Muggsy Bogues.
Hey, let's not forget Bo Jackson went on to play baseball, and he didn't play no baseball in college, really.
Bo Jackson was a freak athlete, though.
Michael Jordan did it.
Michael Jordan again, freak athlete.
Jeff Samardzija did it. He played college football at Notre Dame and then went and played
Again,
pro
freak
baseball.
athlete.
Okay, you know what? Maybe we just gotta give you steroids. You can become a freak athlete that way.
I'm in. Let's do this.
All right, let's call some guys. Off air, of course.
You want to play football again?
Well, it's going to take a lot more than just some steroids to get me going. Anyways, but the West, though, has been dismal with Golden State here in the bottom. It's been absolutely bad. 2-8 at their last 10. Have not been able to really string anything together. And 3-13 against the conference. It's been so bad. But looking over at the Eastern Conference, the Milwaukee Bucks, 16-3, leading the entire conference. Currently on a 10-game win streak themselves. Are looking to move theirs to 11 games here soon when they take on the Charlotte Hornets. So it's going to be interesting. Big thing here, 10-2 in their conference, 7-1 at home, just getting it done.
Well, when you're in the Eastern Conference, outside of the top 4 or 5 teams, you've got a lot of haves and have-nots. Mm-hmm. So if you are any of these top teams, Milwaukee, Toronto, Miami, Boston, Philly, you've got to have a good record against the Eastern Conference, and all of those teams do. Mm-hmm. So that's really what's going to help just pad their win total so they can get a better positioning in the playoff hunt.
Most definitely. Right behind them, the Toronto Raptors at 14-4, game and a half back of Milwaukee at this point. Currently on a 6-game winning streak and are 8-2 in their last 10, playing lights out defense. 9-2 against the conference. And let's not look now, but 8-0 at home.
Yeah, and how good has Pascal Siakam been?
Amazing.
You had a lot of question marks about who was going to lead this team with Kawhi Leonard leading. 25 points, 8.5 boards, almost 4 assists for Pascal Siakam. He's playing really, really well, a lot higher than a lot of expectations, I would think, for a lot of the experts coming into this season. So that's kind of what's really helped propel them into that second spot. Number 3, the Miami Heat, another surprising team that has played very well this first part of the season. 13-5, 2.5 games out of first. They are undefeated, 8-0 at home and 8-1 against the conference. They're at 7-3 in their last 10 games.
Yeah, the Miami Heat have been playing absolutely out of their mind. Jimmy Butler coming in, but Tyler Hero's been playing really great basketball as well.
Kendrick Nunn.
Yeah, Kendrick Nunn. They've just really been able to get this team really to the Miami Heat way and been able to roll this into an amazing record. I honestly did not think Miami was going to be able to take this big of a step coming out of last season where they narrowly missed playoffs. So it's great to see the Heat be able to get this together, even to the dissatisfaction as a Magic fan. But either way, he's been able to get it done. Right behind them, though, Boston Celtics, 13-5, 2.5 out of the lead for the Eastern Conference, 6-4 in their last 10 on a 1-game losing streak, but still 7-0 at home as well. Been able to defend that their home court.
76ers coming in at the 5th spot. They're 13-6, 3 games out of first place. They are also undefeated at home, 8-0, 9-2 against the East, 7-3 in their last 10, and 2-game win streak.
Yeah, but absolutely playing great. Indiana Pacers coming in at 6 with 12-6 record, 3.5 out of the lead. Been playing pretty good as of late. Currently on a 5-game winning streak and 8-2 in their last 10. But 9-5 against the division. They're going to want to have to improve on that mark if they want to be able to contend in the East.
Brooklyn Nets at 7, 10-9 so far this year. They've been playing really well at home and not so great on the road. But they're 6-4 in their last 10. I think they're finally starting to get a little bit of chemistry here. You're talking about Kyrie Irving, and he's a very talented player, but can he play well with others? Not really sure how that's going to work out in the long run, but they are, as currently, getting off to a decent start.
Most definitely. At number 8, Charlotte Hornets, surprisingly at the 8th spot, 8-12 and 8.5 out of the lead. 0-2 in their division, 6-7 against the conference. Definitely going to have to prove upon both of those if they want to be able to keep this spot in any kind of way. But all on a 2-game winning streak, so don't look now.
And Orlando Magic leading the rest of the field. They're 7-11, our own hometown Orlando Magic, 5-5 in their last 10. They still, they also not playing well on the road. They're 1-7 on the road, 6-4 at home, but they're 5-8 against the Eastern Conference. That's not going to do you any favors if you are trying to get back into the playoffs. And really, it seems like they're kind of stuck in limbo. They might be just good enough to make the playoffs, but they're not good enough to win a title, and they're just bad enough that they might not make the playoffs, but not bad enough that they could tank and get a lottery pick.
Exactly. They're in that horrible
high lottery pick.
Yeah, they're in that little quandary area of trying to build when you have like the ultimate mediocre team, I feel like. But Magic also dealing with a lot of injuries. Vucevic out for a minimum of 4 weeks with his ankle injury. Aaron Gordon just now coming back from his ankle contusion. So dealing with some injury issues. And Jonathan Isaac ended up hurting his ankle when they did the city uniform reveal. I don't know how you do that. It doesn't
Yeah, I
make any
remember you
sense.
mentioned that last week.
Yeah, it just still perplexes me. And they actually played in that uniform last night. Lost, but, you know, it was what it was. Right behind them, though, the Washington Wizards and your Detroit Pistons, both only with 6 wins. Wizards are 9 games out of the lead. Pistons 10. Both teams on losing streaks right now and have under 500 records in their last 10. Both not playing great basketball. And Detroit Pistons 1-9 on the road. Not good. And
Blake Griffin in there comes out in the media after their last loss saying that the Pistons lack fight. I mean, that if you got what is expected to be the leader of your team saying things like that.
Hey, he's calling out your team.
I mean, sometimes it helps. Sometimes it lights a fire. But
I don't think it's going to.
I've said this at the beginning of the year. The Pistons are not suited to make the playoffs or be a winning team. They need to blow everything up, start all over. And it starts by getting rid of Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson. Even if you get rid of Blake Griffin, you've got to start somewhere. And all that cap space taken up by all 3 of those players, you can't build a winning team when all your cap space is around 3 players.
Well, I mean, maybe they can wink, wink, nudge, nudge Juwan Howard over there at Michigan and get some of the Michigan connection going and filter some of those boys to Detroit.
Not all those guys are NBA players.
Some could make it.
Maybe
1 or 2.
I mean, Xavier Simpson's a really good point guard, but he's a very undersized guy, and he's not a great shooter. That's not going to help him in the NBA. John Teskey is a good 7-footer that can stretch the floor and shoot some threes, but he's not very athletic, so that's not going to play well in the NBA anymore. It's tough. Those are 2 of the best guys on the team.
Detroit just ain't going to be able to make it happen, I guess.
Well, like I said, the Pistons just need to blow it up, start all over, but unfortunately, their ownership is not willing to do that.
No, most definitely not. But right behind them, the Chicago Bulls and the Cleveland Cavaliers, 6-14 and 5-14 respectively, not been playing good basketball whatsoever. Have losing records against the conference, losing records at home, on the road, losing records in the last 10. Even it's just dismal to see this. Cleveland Cavaliers 1-9 in their last 10. Bulls are 3-7, both on 3-game losing streaks. It's just dumpster fires going on over there.
Well, the Cavs, they're rebuilding. They got John Beilein taking the helm. That's going to take some time to turn around.
And Love is injured as well, so that hasn't been helping them either.
Right. Chicago Bulls, last week, I think it was Lauri Markkanen, made a comment that the coaching staff doesn't trust their players.
Ooh.
Like there's some stuff going on in some of these teams and organizations that they really have to fix if they want to improve and get better.
Oh, most definitely.
But at the bottom, Atlanta and New York, both 4-15, both having horrible seasons. Neither team has a winning record either at home or on the road. From that, I mean, the Knicks 5-game losing streak, the Hawks 9-game losing streak. The only bright spot for the Hawks, Trae Young had a career high over this last week in points and in 3-pointers made, but all those little accolades aren't going to help you win aren't going to help you win games in the long run. They got to have more pieces around Trae Young in order to help that organization get to where they want to go.
Definitely, and they're going to have to try and do something to be able to get these franchises, I should say, back on the track they need them to be. Because you got to remember, both these teams, have been really good teams in the past, but just not able to get anything going now. And I really feel bad for Vince Young, playing with Atlanta and what could be his final season.
Vince Young?
Or not Vince Young. What was the other one?
Talking about Vince Carter?
Vince Carter. It's a Vince either way. Don't mind me. I'm on like 3 hours of sleep right now. That's what having kids does to you. Okay?
Vince Carter is playing his last year.
Young. Oh my gosh.
But I don't think he was really he was wanting to be in Atlanta. I don't think he was really expecting them to be very good.
I think he just wanted to keep playing more so than anything.
Absolutely, play until you can't play anymore.
Absolutely,
I do not fault him whatsoever.
Live your dream. But looking at some NBA news, definitely some interesting stuff that happened around the league this week, including none other than LeBron James, who joined the 33,000 point club. Definitely want to touch on that for a moment. Karl Malone leads this group of men with 36,928 points. Kobe Bryant in second with 33,643, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar with 33,387. But now LeBron joins that, breaking the 33,000 mark and becoming one of only 4 players to do so.
Yeah, and that's a huge feat. I mean, you're looking at three of the best scorers in the league of its league's history, really. Mm-hmm. I don't think anyone's ever going to touch Karl Malone because
that's
of
so
that.
Many
points. But I could absolutely see LeBron getting to 34,000 points.
Oh, definitely could
35
see that.
Maybe.
Yeah, I think he'll end up being the number 2 guy. Kobe Bryant, honestly, I think was lucky in a lot of ways. Late in his career, he was still able to throw up 40, 50-point games like it was nothing. Yeah. Even his very last game of his career, I think he had a 50-point game, if I'm not mistaken. So he was a guy that was able to really phone it in. But LeBron, now with the mixture of AD and Dwight Howard, I think it's going to really help him, especially score a lot of points this season and for seasons to come in LA.
Well, the one thing is he's been deferring a lot more than he has in the last few years because he's got those guys around him now. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be helpful. He can be a little bit more effective overall on the floor, maybe not in a scoring capacity, but there is the possibility that in those nights, now he's going to be a little bit more fresh. Mm-hmm. He's actually playing defense. He's, to be a little bit more effective shooting the ball maybe because those other weapons are around him.
Most definitely. But with our NBA best of the week, it's going to go to none other than Anthony Davis, who scored 41 points in helping the LA Lakers beat the New Orleans Pelicans 114-110 in his return to New Orleans. And he played great basketball. Only played 37 minutes, had the 41 points, 50% shooting from the field, 10 of 12 from the stripe. Was playing great basketball, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, had 3 steals, had a block. Was just playing great basketball, 9 rebounds, just doing everything he could in his return, and that crowd booed him as hard as they could.
Yeah, they were pretty merciless in that, but I mean, you can't really blame him with how he kind of forced his way out, and it's really unfortunate to see how that all played out. And it, you always hate to see that when a player really voices their opinion that they don't want to be in a certain city. You're a professional basketball player. First and foremost, be thankful that you're there, you're playing. I understand if you want to go and play in your hometown of Chicago or you want to go play in a bigger market. Do that when you're a free agent, or talk behind the scenes to your front office about getting traded. Don't make it a public spectacle. Yeah. And that's unfortunately what happened here. Is it became a public spectacle, and was it deserving of him to get booed? Probably not, but fans are gonna be fans. We're gonna boo people when we feel like they wrong us.
Of course,
it's gonna happen. So it is unfortunate, but it's he's off to a better situation that he likes a little bit better. There's talks he might not even stay in LA. He might just be a 1-year rental and go wherever he wants to go.
Could happen.
You never know.
Could happen, but you'll never know, and we'll find out once the season actually ends. But still, the Lakers are rolling right now. Anthony Davis playing great basketball. New Orleans Pelicans are traveling in the opposite direction, so definitely going to be interesting going forward. But moving on, this week we sadly will not have any sports history with the Thanksgiving holiday. We kind of took a break this week from that, but we'll definitely come back hard with some great sports history next week. A lot of good stuff that happens in the month of December, so definitely make sure you join us for episode 39 next week here live on Facebook Live at facebook.com/PCN Final Score. You give us a like, give us a follow, check mark the notifications, and of course, leave us a rating. Let us know how we're doing, because we always try to bring the best show that we can, so hit us up and let us know how we can. But at this point, though, we're going to go ahead and shift gears over to Give or Go, and I'm going to throw it right at you right off the rip. I'm interested to see what your reaction is going to be to this one. Ole Miss receiver Elijah Moore was flagged and lost his team the Egg Bowl against Mississippi State after mimicking a dog peeing after a touchdown as part of his celebration. Give or go?
This kind of harkens for me back to the OBJ celebration. I don't think there's really no room for this in football. And karma's a bitch. I mean, if you do that and you cost your team the game and a rivalry game like that, sorry, dude, that's, why do that in the first place? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it seems very dumb, very miscalculated, because you're in a position to tie this game up, send it in overtime, and try and win it in one of your big rivalry games, and you do something boneheaded like that. I'm all for touchdown celebrations. There's been a lot of funny ones. Chad Johnson was one that was always infamous for all of his celebrations and all the funny ones he had. I always loved him resuscitating the football. I thought that was always a funny one. But things like this, or like when Randy Moss, just acted like he was pulling his pants down and crapping on the field, things like that just, I feel like don't have really any space here in football in today's day and age.
It was really that one to me was really funny. It was completely inappropriate, but it's really funny because he did it at Green Bay.
Oh, that's
he was
true.
like mooning the fans, and it was funny, but it definitely had no room for that in football either. But this kind of just shows that also the direction this program's been going.
Yes.
This program hit with those scandals and with Hugh Freeze and all that, and they really haven't recovered since then. And then you get guys that aren't disciplined, and that's why you lose football games with no discipline.
Most definitely, and it's very tragic to see a game end this way. I know Ole Miss has been already having issues with the Pac-12 officiating when they played Cal, and obviously all the scandals like you mentioned. But now like this on top of it, it feels like just kind of a pie in the face on top of it all.
The next give or go, we're going to toss it up to you. 17 players from the Patriots are listed as questionable after coming down with an illness. Is this another Gate? Is this Sick Gate?
Oh my gosh, Sick Gate. This
Sick
could
Gate.
be, and this could be the way that teams can actually beat the Patriots now. Just release some type of viral infection into the air supply at the Patriots practice area, and you can make it happen. Sick Gate. Actually, if it comes out somebody actually did that, I would laugh. I would give them an award. I would not even be angry.
We should coin that.
It's absolutely impressive. But who knows? We'll definitely see how it affects the team. Especially having to travel. Also, as the road team is never easy. So we'll definitely see how a lot of these players respond and see if Sick Gate is a thing or not. But next give or go, Wizards coach Scott Brooks said, quote, "If you guys were not so tired of giving him the MVP, he would have 9 of them by now," in reference to LeBron James. Give or go.
Well, he's not wrong. I mean, realistically, if you're looking at what MVP should be, and it is the best player or the most valuable player to his team, I think part of the reason why LeBron wasn't getting multiple in a row because they were just getting tired of the same argument. LeBron's the best player. He's been the best player on the planet up until realistically about a year or two ago. But yeah, he could have realistically gotten, I wouldn't say 9 in a row, but he could have gotten 4 or 5, even 6 in a row, easily. But now you've got other guys that are doing other things. I think when you look at most valuable player, it's not the best player or a player on the best team, and that's kind of what they've been doing. Is you looked at Steph Curry got it during the 73 win season. Was he the best player on that team? No, not really, but he got it anyway because he was the leader of that team.
Yeah, and he was Steph Curry.
And James Harden got it for the Rockets when they were, up at the top of the rankings for the best. He was probably the best player that year. But you could also make the same argument for Russell Westbrook because he's been doing triple-double season after triple-double season, and that is something that players just don't do at all.
No, that's so hard to keep consistently going, especially through an 82-game season. So it's really crazy to kind of see how a lot of that has worked out. But to LeBron's testament as well, he's been able to keep consistently getting his teams into the playoffs. He's been able to consistently get his teams to the finals. With the exception of last year, he has always been a contender. So you can never count a guy like him out because he is such a leader and such a player that he's going to do whatever it takes to try and win a championship. Whether it's elevating the guys around him or elevating the play of himself, he always tries to find a way.
Absolutely, and that's what makes him one of the best players on the planet.
Absolutely. But at this point, though, we're going to switch gears over to the week ahead as we're nearing the end here, and we got a whole slate of college basketball games coming up. What do we got? Yeah,
so college basketball, of course, we already went over all of our NFL and college football games that are going on, and college basketball today, we've got the Emerald Coast Classic, 5-1, number 17 Tennessee playing against number 20 VCU, who is 6-1. That happens at 4:00 today. On Tuesday, Michigan at number 2 Louisville at 7:30, and number 1 Duke goes to number 3 Michigan State, 9:30 at ESPN. Those two games right there, great day for college basketball. If you're a fan of that, Tuesday night's going to be the night for you.
Absolutely. We're going to round it up Wednesday, December 4th. Number 10 Ohio State traveling to number 6 North Carolina there on Chapel Hill. 9:30 game on ESPN. That game is going to be very interesting. Have a lot of implications for that one. It's going to be real good.
Yep. Moving on to the NBA, we'll cover games that are happening this weekend. Today, tonight, 7 o'clock tonight, we've got the Pacers, who have been playing really well. We're talking about their streak they've been on lately. They're traveling to Philadelphia to play the 13-6 76ers, and that's going to be a pretty intense game, I think, because you've got the 76ers and the style of brand of basketball that they play. They're very defensively oriented. The Pacers, they've been playing really well of late, so it's going to be, unstoppable force and movable object right now in the NBA.
That and the 76ers are also undefeated at home, so that's going to be a big thing too. Going to want to try and defend that streak against the Pacers, who've really been surging as of late. But on Sunday, December 1st, tomorrow, we have the Heat traveling to Brooklyn to take on the Nets in a 3 p.m. game, and then the Mavs traveling to the Lakers for a 4 p.m. game. That Mavs-Lakers game, though, a lot of Western Conference playoff implications tied with that one. A lot of jockeying position. Remember, the Lakers are on this winning streak, so the Mavericks are really going to try and be that hot team that's going to be able to knock them off. And then we round it out at 6 p.m. with Jazz at Raptors, with the defending champions also undefeated at home. Definitely some interesting matchups. Yeah,
big matchups here every weekend in the NBA, but this one, no different. 3 marquee matchups, and all 3 should be very great games to watch.
Absolutely, absolutely. But sadly, this brings the end to our episode 38, our Happy Thanksgiving episode. And again, Happy Thanksgiving to all of our Final Score fans out there watching us. Definitely hope you had a really happy holiday and a safe holiday at that. But now we can start gearing up for the true holiday time. So excited. I'm so
You don't
excited.
like Thanksgiving?
It's good, it's just I always end up eating too much. Like I said earlier, I had the meat sweats and all kinds of stuff going on. So, now I get to kind of get into the jolly spirit, and use that weight to good use.
Oh, got you. So you're going to be Santa Claus is what you're saying.
Maybe, just maybe. We'll see what happens. The beard doesn't always fit right. Anyways, but to make sure that you keep up on all things Final Score, you need to make sure that you follow us on all of our social media accounts on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at PCN Final Score. Give us a like, give us a follow. Let us know how we're doing and leave us a rating, because we always try to bring the very best show that we can to you. And real important, too, check mark for those notifications so you don't miss out on all the great things that we have in post, because we're always coming out with something, always have something going on. It's what we do here at Final Score. And also make sure to follow us on all of our content platforms on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Podbean, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, and of course Google Play Music. Go check out Final Score there. To search keyword Final Score, one word, and give us a like and follow there and check us out. We have so many episodes. This is episode 38, so obviously we're not slowing down. There's going to be more content coming, so make sure you hop on those wagons and make sure you hitch on up, because we got good stuff coming. But until next time, next week, you can join us live for episode 39 here on our Facebook page on Facebook Live. But until then, I'm Chris, that's Craig, and you just watch Final Score. Have a great night.
Podcast City Network.